Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. Today, Sam talking breakout players for all 32 NFL teams. It's all brought to you by FanDuel. And we're live from the Mike Vrabel is in the Bill Belichick Coaching Tree studio.
Indeed we are.
It's a fun show. I enjoy this show. You get back to the player eval, like our roots, player eval. When you get into the season, we don't get to get into the weeds about the non-quarterback players all that much.
It always sounds good, and then I go through all 32 teams, and there's a bunch of teams you're like, there's just nobody's breaking out.
Well, you just make stuff up. I
Yeah.
saw you make stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to go through my list without looking at yours. There were also some players that I listed that I assumed you were, and on that because you put your list in first.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you were like, this is the obvious one. I'm going to go somewhere
Did
else.
that a couple of times. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll leave that one for Steve.
Right. So you left a couple players for me.
Yeah.
I was surprised at the end of the day, though, only 6 players. Only 6 teams. We had the same player.
guy?
Yeah, that's it. So should be a fun show. We'll give you breakout players for all 32 NFL teams. Did this last year. Couple hits, couple misses. A couple retreads for me.
Yeah,
I might double down on the breakout
When
player.
you posted last year's, I noticed that there were a couple that I'd gone back to the well with. There were also a few from last year that I'm like, I probably should go back to the well with that guy, but I'm already done. He's burned me from last year. He didn't break out, and now I'm out.
Is the stream choppy again? What's going on
I
here?
rebooted everything before we started. How is it possible?
We can't have this. Well, let's grind it. Let's get through this thing. But I'm enjoying it. I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be fun. So we're going to go. What are we doing by division?
Yeah, the normal way, not whatever crazy alphabetical.
Alphabetical by division with a random order by division. I think we're going south, north, east, west by division, starting the NFC.
South, north, east, west.
Yep. You ready to go?
Wow.
Breakout players, one for all 32 NFL teams. Did you have any specific criteria for this, or did you just make it up as you went, like I did?
No, pretty much on the fly. I mean,
Remember last year we argued, like I picked Gregory Rousseau. You're like, well, he already broke out. There's a lot of, he already broke out. Well, some of these are like, take a next step. Do you go from good to great? Do you go from good to superstar?
I mean, everyone, broadly speaking, knows what a breakout player is. I tried to stick to that. Generally speaking, I don't think, did I pick any rookies? I think I might have picked one.
I think you had 2.
2?
I avoided all rookies.
I generally tried to avoid rookies, but there's some times where it was the only thing that made any sense. And then, I generally was like, look, if you're already really, really good, you're probably not breaking out.
All right, let's go through it. We're going to start in the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons. Your breakout player for the Atlanta Falcons this year, Sam.
Yeah, so this is already hard to begin with. But I think Brandon Dorlus, the defensive tackle, is the closest thing they have to a likely breakout star. I actually think he played okay last year. He was one of that cadre of defensive linemen that they drafted after they didn't draft one in the first round. Restocked the thing with a bunch of lower round draft picks, and none of them did anything year one effectively. Not many of them did much year 2. But Dorlus was the one I think that actually did start to show some stuff. He's got some speed. He's got some disruption to his game. And in the subsequent year, next year, I think he could actually take another step forward and become a really, really good player.
Yeah, there's some questions on the defensive line. So my player is Cameron Thomas, who's now heading into year 4 year 5 for the Atlanta Falcons. Former Brown. Last year, I had a slight breakout for me because he kept popping on film every time I'm watching the Browns and watching Myles Garrett and everything. So Dorlus and Cameron Thomas, we're both going with defensive linemen. I think there's a lot of questions on this defensive line beyond the 2 edge rushers now that James Pierce is back, Jalen Walker's back, both guys in year 2. They made a trade. They traded Ruka Rororo for Mason Smith. A couple failed or just overdrafted second-round defensive tackles, I would say, where both teams said, hey, let's switch this thing up. So there's some opportunity for guys like Dorlus. I think Cameron Thomas has a chance to be that third edge rusher here, and that's why I like him. I mean, every time I watched last year, I wrote in my notes last year, he's got a chance to beat up on some lesser right tackles. And so I think there's value in that as an edge 3.
Yeah.
Beat up on DJ Glaze in the Raiders game right around midseason. Cameron Thomas, when he came out of San Diego State, I thought he had a little bit of length. He was really productive at San Diego State, and I think last year was the first time we saw him as a solid rotational player. So I'm calling Cameron Thomas, not that he's surpassing James Pierce or Jalen Walker or anything like that, but establishing himself as one of those Arden Key or Joseph Asai, AJ Epinesa, edge 3 types this year for the Falcons. That's my call.
All right.
So we both went defensive line. I also found myself leaning on defensive linemen quite a bit in this, and I tried to avoid. I tried to undo that.
All of mine. No, that was the other show we're doing. But one of the shows you got coming up, basically everybody I wanted to put in was a wide receiver.
Oh, the most important non-QB, because it probably is.
Yeah.
Well, just like a breakout player, it's easy to take a 300 snap defensive lineman and say, yeah, he'll be better over 500 or 600 snaps. Give him more snaps. It's harder to do that at other positions, but we'll do our best here. So Falcons, we're both going D-line. You got Brandon Dorlus. I have Cameron Thomas. Carolina Panthers are up next.
You both have Jonathan Brooks.
We both have Jonathan Brooks. Now, is this on the back of minicamp hype?
No, it's part of it was I don't know that they have a ton of great breakout candidates, and part of it is hope. I'd really like to see Jonathan Brooks, recover from those injuries, but also they've kind of left the door open for him. There is a pathway for him to come back and break out if he's able to recover from those injuries. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mentioned it when the hype came out during the minicamp for the Carolina Panthers. That's one of the only pieces of hype that you're allowed to buy into because it's injury related. It's a guy that's had multiple injuries, has barely played in the NFL, and the fact that he's out there running around and maybe breaking off a few big runs in team drills, that's one thing that actually means something before you completely write him off. So now, is Jonathan Brooks going to be the next Jason Verrett? He's just going to keep getting hurt, and we'll for the next 7 years, we're like, watch out, Jonathan Brooks. Maybe. But let's go, baby. Let's go. We don't even like him as much as someone like Matt Waldman in the NFL fantasy community, where Matt Waldman's like, this is the best running back of the last 3 years. We're like, wait. Didn't Ashton Genty, prospect, didn't Ashton Genty just come out? Didn't Jeremiah Love just come out? But I definitely thought Brooks was the best running back in that class. I just loved his ability to know. He just knew how to run. Like, he knew how to run well in every situation, whether it's tight quarters, open field, made guys miss, had a gliding running style about him.
Yep.
And I still think he could be special, assuming the injuries haven't, sapped him of any of that athleticism.
Yeah, which is obviously a big question at this point. Basically, back-to-back ACL injuries, which is, for a running back, feels like a really big deal. But we've seen players, we said this at the time, that the Panthers themselves have had a player who recovered from back-to-back ACL surgeries in Thomas Davis, a linebacker, right? He had the same thing where just recovering from an ACL and boom, it goes again. You're like, well, you're done at that, right? Whatever about one ACL, if you do the same thing back-to-back, that's got to be curtains. But Davis came back and was a really good player after that. So it shows it's possible. It feels like something that's going to be curtains for your career, but he's still like 22 years old. Like, he's still really young. He could be in this draft class. And we just haven't seen him yet. So I'm rooting for him as much as anything else to get back on the field and then hopefully show the talent that he does have.
Other players to even consider for the Panthers. So we both went Jonathan Brooks, maybe Nick Scorton, if you see like a next level from him as a pass rusher. Was there anyone else in consideration for you?
Scorton was definitely somebody that I considered, but that's basically it from their group.
All right, NFC South going team by team. Let's go New Orleans Saints, breakout player for the Saints. Oh, you have a question mark on your name.
I have a few question marks where it's like the closest thing I came. I'm not sure if they really qualify. Kelvin Banks. He was really good right out of the box as a starting tackle for them. He could take a step forward this year and be a really, really top-tier player. Does that count as a breakout? Probably not.
I think they all – it's your show. You do whatever you want. But, yeah, if you think Kelvin Banks takes the next step and you're sitting here in year 2. Tackles are an interesting one because a lot of times when I'm looking at a breakout, I want to look at the film and be like, well, the film's sneaky good. It's going to be better next year. With offensive linemen as rookies, there's some ugly in there that you almost have to – I'll get to one a little bit later. that I called as a breakout. And I'm like, ugh, the film is rough at times, but you're just trying to see an upward trajectory.
This guy sucks.
But linemen they're the group that can take some jumps. They could take some leaps as they get stronger. It makes sense because they're more core strength, and you develop physically as a man at 22 to 27 years old, and you get into your prime, and could make sense. So a step forward for Kelvin Banks, I could buy into that.
Yep. I think he was already good, but this could be a breakout towards being like a top tier offensive tackle. I mean, unfortunately for NFL players that are just regular humans, the guys that are absolute freak shows and are dominant from like the second they walk on the field, they just ruin the scale for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like these guys are able to step in immediately. There's not even a hiccup between college and the NFL level. That breaks everybody's perception of what should happen. And so you don't sort of notice the guys that take a couple of years and then become really good players, even if they end up in the same place. Like even if overall they actually end up being every bit as good as the guy that hit the ground running, it feels worse because it took you 2 or 3 years or whatever, whereas a Joe Alt is just dominant from day one.
All right, my breakout player for the Saints, I'm going Jonas Sanker, year 2 safety. So he's 6'1", 210, and he's going to play he's going to play big nickel this year. So we have a star role here for Jonas Sanker, which I think fits his skill set. Again, as a rookie, I think he made some plays. Our friend Nick Underhill was talking about him, flashing even just early in training camp and everything. But they've got the 3 safety package with Justin Reed, with Julian Blackman playing more traditional safety. I think Sanker's going to step in to more of that star role, replace Alontae Taylor, who has left. And I think it plays to Sanker's skill set a little bit more. He has some size, works downhill, hits hard. And I think a lot of his worst plays are in space, playing deep safety. You take some of those off his plate. Jonas Sanker is my breakout player for the Saints with the new role in the star role in defensive coordinator Brandon Staley's system.
All right. I like it.
There are definitely sometimes I watch the film and I'm like, yeah, I could buy it. And then other times I'm like, I got to project a little bit here. That's going to be my Bucs guy. Bucs breakout player for you.
Well, so is mine, but not because of the tape, just because of a complete absence of tape from year one. But I'm always a fan of guys that get injured and then everyone forgets about them. And this is, it's not like he was a high draft pick, but David Walker. Remember, he was everybody's draft darling that year. A guy that's basically built like Brandon Graham, absolutely destroyed lower level competition, like to a preposterous degree. Looked really good at the Senior Bowl for the entire week he was there. Then gets hurt, misses his entire rookie season, and now it's like, well, he doesn't exist anymore. They draft Reuben Bain. He's now flavor of the month. Everyone's going to be talking about Bain, his face mask, his dominance. But if Bain and David Walker actually make some noise this season, that defensive line could be really fun.
Man, that's some speed to power that they have there with Bain and David Walker. That's some difficult body types to block. Body type, not even a buffet, just redundant body types, but still tough to block. Both of those guys. I went Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback for the Bucs, and it wasn't because I necessarily loved what I saw last year on film.
Yeah.
Some was good. I liked him coming out of Notre Dame. He had injury issues his final year at Notre Dame. I think he's really good in off coverage, click and close and everything. I think there's times his speed is not great, but like at Notre Dame, he was usually in phase. He had a couple coverage busts. He had a couple plays where he just allows too much room or gets bodied at the catch point. Some of that showed up both in college and last year in the NFL. But he had enough splash plays. The other thing that I was looking at, a lot of his bad plays are just tackling in space. And I'll just dismiss that. We'll just dismiss it and say that's got to get better. I mean, there was a lot of plays he wasn't even targeted, and then he's flailing at the tackle or balls in front of him, and he's just not finishing plays. So we'll say that those are less common this year. More often than not, he's in phase, even down the field. And, another one of his issues, there's some scramble drill plays and there's some long developing plays. So just some quirky plays. So I don't even know what his stats were, his coverage stats or anything, but I don't think they were great. But I think I'm going off of priors here, that I really liked him coming out of Notre Dame. He's another year removed from the injury issues at Notre Dame. And so I'm going to say Benjamin Morrison, and in part because the Bucs are relying on him. They had him and Jacob Parrish playing more nickel, a couple of year 2 corners that they need opposite Zion McCollum.
Plus, cornerback is volatile,
Yeah.
In any given year.
Just playing the odds.
Right.
Just playing the odds that Benjamin Morrison's going to bounce back here. I like your David Walker selection, though. Bucs are in an interesting spot because they've lost guys like Mike Evans, Levante David. They've lost some of these decade-long Bucs.
Yep.
And if the roster doesn't feel as strong as it was a year or 2 ago, and they're going to need the youth, and that's a couple of last year's draft picks on defense. I mean, the defense was not great last year. They're going to need both of those guys to step up.
I mean, Walker, he's a 4th-round pick, so the odds are not in his favor. But he did feel like one of those 4th-round picks a year ago where, like, every year there's a guy who's drafted somewhere in the mid to low rounds that everyone is certain will be a better player than that. And for some reason, the draft just says, this is something we just don't like. We're not going to buy into it. But everyone's like, that guy will be one of the steals of the draft. David Walker felt like that guy and then immediately gets himself hurt and misses the entire year, and we haven't seen it yet. So,
and he'll have an opportunity in that rotation. They like to rotate up there, so not that front. All right.
It was like training camp injury, so he's had like a full calendar year to recover from it, which is good, as opposed to, midway through the season, time scale is a crunch.
All right, we're moving. NFC South is done. Let's go NFC North. Breakout players. You know who it is. Chicago Bears first.
Yeah, well, this is one where I think you could have gone in one of 2 directions. I think the correct answer is Luther Burden. But I think there was another option you could have gone with.
Well, who else did you consider? Because I had Luther Burden as well. This was another one of the 6 teams that we doubled up.
We could have gone with the other year 2 receiving option, just a tight end.
Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I leaned more toward he broke out last year.
Well, I think Burden did as well. I mean, the thing is, they started to lean on both those guys late in the season, and everything got better. And I'm sure they will be leaning on both of them this season based off how impressive they were a year ago. It's just a case of it's almost like which one is going to be a bigger part of the offense.
We were big fans of Burden last year, as you said. I mean, he was wide receiver 3 coming into the season. You have Roma Dunze, DJ Moore. And then it got to the point in the year where, like, man, every time Luther Burden touches the ball, good things happen. Whether it's down the field, whether it's after the catch. He just looked like he was, a tick faster, quicker than everybody on the field every time he was out there. And some of the questions coming in were, consistency and dedication and whatever else. I thought he looked really good last year, super efficient when he was out there. And now the path is paved for him to get the bigger workload. Give me some points there for the game show.
Plus, you're getting like his own head coach is hyping him up. When your head coach is talking about buying stock in you as a player going into training camp, that's got to be a good thing. Yeah,
can't say that as a coach. It's not allowed. No, I'm a huge fan of Luther Burden. With the Loveland thing, I mean, he's worth a mention at least. I mean, if you think. Kind of like Trey McBride a couple years ago went from, now you're a high-volume target, couldn't find the end zone, and then that was in 2024, finally catches a couple touchdowns, and then by 25, it's like, where do I rank Trey McBride? Is he in the top 3 tight ends? Is he top 2? Loveland has a chance to do that because he really broke out in the second half of last year, but if you're like, hey, I think he's a top 2 or 3 receiving tight end by the end of the year, I mean, you could put him in this bucket as well.
The other thing, remember, one of the biggest knocks people had on Luther Burden as a prospect or a red flag on him was like the effort thing, or does he, will he always go 100%, that kind of stuff. And he's gone to an offense and a head coach in Ben Johnson for whom that type of stuff is really, really important. I mean, he's a details guy. He's a bring 100% effort the entire time guy. So for Ben Johnson in particular to be hyping up Luther Burden, I think is really consequential, not just because when your head coach is hyping you up like that on its own is pretty important, but also because if there was anything behind the scenes of, reminiscent of his old kind of stuff that people were concerned by, is he giving 100% effort? Is he, really cracking it down on the details? Ben Johnson would not be hyping him up, right? Ben Johnson would be on his case trying to get him to be the player that he can be. The fact that Ben Johnson is hyping him up suggests that all that stuff is in the past. And if that's the case, then Luther Burden just goes back to being one of the most talented athletes and playmakers you're going to find.
All right, man, that's the Bears. We both had Luther Burden as the breakout there. Detroit Lions are up next. Where are you going to go for the Lions?
Yeah, this is another one that I thought was tricky. Tate Ratledge, I think, is the closest I came. And again, like Kelvin Banks, you could argue he's already broken out. He's already a good player. But my argument would be he takes another step forward, goes from solid to very, very good. That's my guy for the Lions.
I think it's a big year for the Lions line as well, right? They went from a couple of years ago when Frank Ragnow's there in Glasgow, and they've just got maybe the best offensive line, top 2 or 3 offensive line in the NFL. You've got retirements, you have age and regression, and all of a sudden it's like, man, it's Penei Sewell and friends.
Yeah.
Now they're breaking in Blake Miller at right tackle. They're moving Sewell to left tackle, but they needed a guard to step in last year and provide some stability, and Ratledge did that as a rookie. So I think it's a fair play as that offensive line is experiencing some overhaul these last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone from 4 out of 5 spots were really, really good, and maybe there was a bit of a question mark about the 5th to if you include Penei Sewell moving sides as a question, you could argue there's kind of a question of the entire offensive line. I am assuming Sewell will still be really good at left tackle, but it's at least a question that they didn't need to necessarily create.
Then you could argue that Ratledge is the most established.
Right. Now, I mean,
Penei
no matter what, Sewell is at left tackle.
Sewell's
he's probably
going to
be better there than Ratledge is at guard, but still.
Hear it straight here. Obviously, Penei Sewell's the best lineman on that team.
But it's at least a question.
But there's at least a little bit of the transfer.
It's interesting to opt into that kind of question mark when you didn't necessarily need to. Now, it's to give them the ability to draft a Blake Miller rather than a potentially project left tackle, but still.
All right, my Lions breakout. I'm going Terry and Arnold.
Terry
and Arnold. Still a believer.
I'm burned already. I'm out.
Still a believer. I mean, we've talked about him, his career, the penalty issues early on, those tapered off, but he's given up a lot in coverage. He has not been great overall. Did take a bit of a step forward, I think, on a play-by-play basis last year.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume there's a little bit more in there. Battled injuries last season. I loved his man coverage ability. And we talk about this a lot. Like, if you're going to use advanced coverage stats, role matters quite a bit. When you're playing a lot of man coverage and a lot of one-on-one like Terry and Arnold has, it's a challenge. Like, you can get crushed, either whether it's your PFF grade, whether it's completion percentage, yards per attempt. I mean, whatever advanced metrics you want to use can get crushed. So Arnold's been in a really tough role, playing against ex-receivers, one-on-one, quite a bit. But I think he can do it. I think this is the year for Terry and Arnold. Another one. Some of my picks here, I default to priors.
Yeah,
and I slightly not ignore what I've seen at the NFL level, but we take the rosy outlook here. So we're taking the rosier outlook for Terry and Arnold. Tough assignments his first 2 years. Has the chops to play man coverage, and he'll take that step forward here in this year. Plus, cornerback plays volatile.
Volatile. Yeah. And he has gotten better year on year. Now, he needs to get a lot better still to be the player that we thought he could be. I also think so cornerbacks, if you're going to be a really good cornerback, I think you need to be unreasonably self-confident, right? Like,
amnesia.
You need to be. The amnesia. You need to be basically a maniac. You need to be divorced from reality type of self-confidence.
Yes.
Arnold still has that.
Yeah.
Like, he does. He's got like a podcast, so I forget who it's with, but he still sounds like, I've never been beat in my life. You're like, fair play. To still have that attitude, given your tape the last couple of years, that's impressive.
I struggled with that
I would be racked with self-doubt if I'd had the first 2 years in the NFL that you've had. But you're still like, I'm the best corner in the NFL. I'm like, okay.
I struggled with that badly.
Yeah.
As a professional player.
Right. There are people out there that have an unreasonable degree of self-confidence given what they've achieved in life. And I think you need to have that if you're going to be a corner. This is why I never... Even when we started to play basketball, I don't like basketball as a sport because, I'm like, all right, I can't actually handle the ball because I've never played this sport in my life. So if I'm the thing that I can be good at the fastest is defense, right? Because I don't need any talent for that, right? But in basketball, you're going to get scored on constantly, no matter how good you are, because that's just the nature of the sport. Score, back and forth. Whereas soccer, football, you can realistically expect that if I play at a really high level of defense, they're not going to score. You can't do that in basketball.
It's all about the base rate.
And it wrecks my head. That's what corners are like. Like, no matter how good you are, they're going to get 5 for 50 or whatever. You need that thing in your head where you're like, nah, I'm still amazing.
I definitely struggled with it as a football player, you have a whole week off to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
As a relief pitcher, like if I had a bad outing the next 2 or 3 days until I pitched again, I was just miserable. Like it ruins you. Or if you're a starter as a pitcher, you get 4 days off to think about it. And in the age of player podcasts and everything, where it's like if you have a bad game, like I know I gave up 8 catches for 200 yards, but you just to be able to come out and talk about that and remain confident, it's challenging.
Yeah, I'm not good at the base rate, relative to base rate thing. Like I moved from wide receiver to cornerback because I didn't think my hands were good enough for receiver because I dropped some passes. Now, relative to everybody else, I think my hands are fine. But in my own head, it's like I should have caught that one.
Yeah.
You know, this is annoying me. I'm going to go play corner where I don't need to catch.
Go play corner.
It turns out catching the ball at corner is easier than it is at receiver because it's not intended for you. It's way easier to catch a pass that's intended for somebody else. But the point, like in my head, it was like, oh, that one drop, I should have caught that one. Even though probably A, it probably didn't make that much difference, and B, relative to other people, it was probably still good.
Small sample sizes, baby. All right, let's go Green Bay Packers. Who's your breakout for the Packers?
The easy one, obvious one, Matthew Golden. Again, weirdly unproductive season. Without a particular reason for it, I don't think. And that's the key for him breaking out this year. Number one, they've opened up the pathway for him to have success a bit. Romeo Doubs is gone. Dontavian Wicks is gone. There's less competition there than there was, so they kind of need him to. But number two, both the film, just me casually watching it, and then, Matthew Harmon going through play-by-play, there's no reason he should have been as unproductive as he was last season. I'm going to put that down to just a weird aberration and a quirk of statistics and production. He was pretty good. Like every time you watch him, you're like, nah, there's a player here. I'm not quite sure why he's not catching anything.
Plus, we saw him in person, and he looked fast and quick. Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
You got to add the in person. We were there at training camp. We had some doubts when he got drafted.
But then you're like, nah, he is fast.
Not the most productive player, didn't look fast on film, but he ran in the 4.2s at the combine. Then we were there in person. We confirmed it. Fast.
With the stopwatch.
Fast in Indianapolis or adjacent during when they had their joint practice against the Colts last year. I've cheated a little bit here with mine. Not even, but I didn't want to say Golden as well. I have gone Devontae Wyatt for the second straight year. And he's been my good to great pick for 2 straight years now, and he only used, but injuries limited to 400 snaps last year, was limited to 300 something snaps the year before, and he's still not really great in the run game anchor wise, and gets moved a little bit, but he's been pretty consistently a solid disruptor as a pass rusher his entire career. Former first rounder, 28th pick overall back in 22. Out of Georgia. I'm going to call this year a step forward once again for Devontae Wyatt, the defensive tackle for the Packers. Take that pass rush game to the next level, disruption game to the next level. Here in year 5. Year 5 breakout for Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, year 5 breakouts feel like they're stretching a little bit.
I've got a couple of those.
I'm kind of assuming that Devontae Wyatt is what he's going to be at this point, which is fine. Like he's a reasonable player. He's maybe not
but he's only
as good
played
as I expected him to be, but
he's played under 400 snaps in his first, third, and fourth seasons. He's only had 1 year over 400 snaps, which is why. So under 2,000 snaps in 4 years, it's not a lot of ball. Like this is the time where he could take the next step here.
It's possible. I doubt it. He's 28.
Well, if he gets hurt again, he'll be on this list next year for me.
Okay.
He could be the first three-time breakout.
You get waived in like the college. I need an extra year.
Yes, we're going to redshirt his breakout candidacy if he gets hurt again.
6-year breakout.
All right, let's go Minnesota Vikings. Oh,
Vikings.
You went with the obvious one here.
It's Dallas Turner. They you trade away Jonathan Grenard for pennies on the dollar for salary cap reasons, in part to open up the starting opportunity for Dallas Turner. So it's another one where it's like they kind of need him to be good, and he has gotten a lot better. Again, another guy where I don't know that you can entirely explain away his relative lack of performance, not necessarily lack of production, because I think his sack numbers are actually okay. But, win rate, overall production, PFF grade, however you want to measure it, it's been relatively not as good as you would have expected him to be, given first-round draft pick. People were talking about him as edge one, that draft, blah, blah, blah. However, he did get a lot better year one to year two, and they have just cleared the path for him to be an every down starter and come in and cook. 23 years old. Like, there are reasons to think that the arrow is pointed in the right direction. Plus, they just drafted a couple of defensive tackles to try and, improve that defensive line overall. This is the year for Dallas Turner, effectively.
I remember saying at the time he was slightly less productive than you would like from a first-round defensive lineman, but not to the level of the ones we had just seen previously, the Trayvon Walkers, the Tyree Wilsons of the world, and then eventually the Shamar Stewarts the following year.
And the stuff that he was good at also felt like it would, even if it was relatively Spartan as a pass rush tool set, it's like that he's good enough at a few things that should translate pretty quickly. Like, I was surprised that he was as unproductive as he was year one, and part of that was he just didn't play year one, like 300 snaps or whatever. But he didn't play in part because he wasn't bringing anything to, you know what I mean? It was a
but they purposely had Grenard and Van
But it was
Ginkel
also
ahead
chicken
of
and the egg. It's like, look, we saw last year there is the ability to get all three of those guys on the field at the same time, and each one of them have a ton of snaps. If the guy is showing anything, in part he only played 300 snaps because he was not showing the ability to be productive, and because he only played 300 snaps, he wasn't productive. It's like it was a cycle. And then last year, he got a lot more playing time. He got a lot more production. He was more productive and showed more to his arsenal. There's still another step that needs to be taken, and I think this is the year he takes it.
Yeah, and so my point there was he was like the real developmental, edge rusher, where I think the profile made sense, where you could definitely see the upward trajectory, and we're in it right now, and the Vikings are banking on it. I've cheated again, I guess. James Pierre is heading into year 7.
Year 7 breakout.
It doesn't feel like year 7 for James Pierre.
Doesn't.
But he's only I've made my own little starter cutoff criteria, which is 500 snaps. So he's had only 1 year, 2 years actually, above 500 snaps as a starter. But he's coming off his best season. Every time you watch the Steelers last year in games that he played, every time you watch him, James Pierre is breaking on the ball, making plays.
Yeah, coming off a career year.
But it's like a 500 snap career year. Subtle career year.
Subtle career year.
Now he's finally being tasked. He was never really the starter for the Steelers. He was never the guy on the outside at corner. He's going to be the guy in Minnesota. They're banking on him now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna know James Pierre more. The average fan's going to know James Pierre even more.
He will
at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings starting cornerback.
All right. 29-year-old breakout incoming.
There's the NFC North. All right, we're on to the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys. Who's your breakout?
This is where I went rookie. I didn't like any of their legitimate options, so I think Caleb Downs is going to break out immediately. He's just going to hit the ground running and be a really good player.
Just change your criteria. Whatever you want to do.
We'll break out from day one.
So what is a superstardom immediately?
I'm not sure superstardom.
We're 3 weeks into training camp and he's making plays every day. He's on the highlight reels, and you're just like, how could the first 11 teams let this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be Kyle Hamilton from day one, but like Brian Branch was really good right out of the box, right? That's more the kind of impact I would expect from Caleb Downs. He's just going to look like a top tier safety, defensive back playmaker from day one.
No, I like it. I think that's fair. It was. I don't know if they were good Cowboys to look at. I looked at.
No, I didn't like their options.
Donovan Ezeraku, who I thought had a very good season, and I'm an Ezeraku fan. I thought he continued to improve as the year progressed. So you could make the case for Ezeraku, similar to what I said about Greg Rousseau last year. I don't know if Ezeraku becomes a star, but maybe just better, more consistent. But that didn't feel like enough of a jump. So I doubled up with the guy that I guess both of us picked last year, Cooper Beebe.
Yeah.
The center.
And I think he already broke out last year.
No, this is one more step forward for Cooper Beebe. We're going to be in top 5 center territory. Are you listed him in the top 5 centers?
No.
Off the top of my head, maybe not. Top 5 center
So
territory.
I think that gets pretty thin pretty quickly.
It probably
start
does.
Going through the center list. Yeah, I didn't.
Maybe he's already there.
The options for Dallas weren't great. You could have had.
That's why you went with a rookie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't say Desiree.
If you'd done it a year ago, you could have predicted the Ryan Flanoy breakout, but I think he's already broken out. He's already just a good player. You could go with the Tyler Guyton breakout, but I don't think either one of us expects that to happen. So
no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't feel good about Tyler Guyton.
right.
BB's he's been a solid center. He's got step forward for this year. So 2-time breakout player candidate for me for the Dallas Cowboys.
2-time.
Next step, Cooper
When in
Beebe.
doubt, just go with the guy that broke out a year ago.
He didn't break out. He was like the same guy as he was as a rookie. This year, step forward, Cooper Beebe. Let's go New York Giants. Who's your breakout player?
Scatterboo. He's going to come back healthy. He's going to, nut some walls, and then he's going to go off for 1,800 yards.
He's gonna what?
Nut some walls. Headbutt.
Got it. Headbutt some walls. I was gonna say he already broke out last year, but we can make whatever rules we want.
Yeah. He hasn't broken out yet. What do you have, like 400 yards?
Yeah, but they were hard-nosed 400.
Right, but then he snapped his ankle in half, and
Yeah,
it's on the shelf.
He's back doing backflips. We're ready to go. Ready to go this
That's
year.
what I'm saying.
I struggled with the Giants as well. Not as well, but just like the Cowboys.
Apparently, yeah, given the player you selected.
I went Calvin Austin.
Yeah.
Another year 5.
I mean,
Look,
I
these
love
guys
it,
could
but
break out
still.
here because this is opportunity-driven here.
Big fan of Calvin Austin.
The players, 2 of the players that I've selected here, actually all of them.
Are you just like they lost one short guy, they're going to replace him with another short guy, and he's going to go off?
There's elements to that that are true. With Devontae Wyatt, it was opportunity-driven. He's only played 800 snaps the last 2 years.
Yeah.
With James Pierre, opportunity-driven. He's never really been a full-time starter. With Calvin Austin, the fact that the Giants didn't really address wide receiver 2, Darnell Mooney, sure, for just a year. But Calvin Austin, who we both liked coming out of college, showed a lot of flashes with the Steelers, his speed and quicks. Wan'Dale Robinson's out, and Malik Neighbors could barely run to first in charity softball right now.
Right.
Opportunity for Calvin Austin to be the breakout player for the New York Giants.
Opportunity abound. I really liked Calvin Austin coming out. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been able to carve a slightly bigger role. At times, he felt like a guy that Rodgers trusted a little bit and was feeding him the ball a little bit. Maybe. I'd love to see a Calvin Austin breakout season incoming.
Yeah, below average PVM, everything across the board. Nothing data-wise.
Nothing
says
that
it.
backs this up. But
Had the game-winning
I'm here for it.
touchdown one week, was against New England. Let's see, any good breakout comps at this point? Well, one of his comps is Wan'Dale Robinson.
There, you see?
See?
Short guy out, short guy in.
That's
Simple.
what I'm saying. Wan'Dale.
Sometimes we overthink these things, Sometimes you need to reduce it to as simple as they lost one short guy, there's another short guy coming in. Why wouldn't he have the same season?
Wan'Dale, year 3, year 4 breakout, just like Calvin Austin. Year 5, whatever he's in right now. Who's next? Philadelphia Eagles, breakout player.
This is another one where we both went with the same and obvious candidate, Jahad Campbell.
Yeah.
Who I think, again, was quietly really good as a rookie, and maybe that got overlooked just in part because the rest of all the focus on Philadelphia was how the offense was underperforming and, A.J. Brown and drama, right? And everyone just sort of didn't notice that Jahad Campbell was playing really well on the defense.
Yeah, he's a good player. When he got drafted, because he had some really nice pass rush reps, the question was, are the Eagles going to move him to the edge?
Yeah.
Is he going to be a pass rusher? I still don't think that's in the cards, but you'll see him line up at old school Sam linebacker at times, so he's on the line of scrimmage. I think he does a pretty good job there in the run game, uses his length, power, but he also plays, more traditional inside off-ball linebacker. And almost immediately you saw him, running the seam, cover 2, the range that he has in coverage. So I think he has all the tools you're looking for at linebacker. Takes on blocks, can do it on the line of scrimmage, off the ball, range and coverage, sees it pretty well, tackles well, rushes the passer. So I think he has a next level to his game this year, where he'll be this all-around 3-down linebacker if the Eagles choose to to rush him a little bit more, not as necessarily a one-on-one, go take on a tackle type of guy, but hey, isolate him on backs and everything. He could do that. So I think there's a big year 2 coming for Jahad Campbell.
Yeah, it's still a very good defense to be in overall in terms of supporting cast, everybody around you. Obviously, you're right next to Zach Bond, a very good player, all-pro caliber linebacker in his own right. It's the perfect situation for Jahad Campbell to end up being a dominant player.
All right, rounding out the NFC East with the Washington Commanders. Who you have here?
Bill Krosky Merritt. Again, you can argue, did he break out last year? I would say not enough. The hype was bigger than the production last year. I think this is the year the production matches the hype for Bill.
New system.
He's still the best running back they have, right?
Yeah.
And I think ultimately they're going to lean on that more now that he's in year 2, now that they trust him more, now that he's got experience of, the pass game, protections, that kind of thing. I think this is the year they can actually feed him the football the way fantasy people would have been wanting last year.
Love it. Bill Krosky Merritt had a lot of hype last year. Definitely had some flashes. Had some big plays in there. Just not the big breakout that you're expecting for this year.
Yeah.
He'll break out if my guy breaks out as expected. Josh Connerly, the year 2 right tackle. This is the one where I went back through the rookie year film and was like, ugh, some ugly stuff in there. But it got better as the year progressed, and that's what I try to come back to. Remember how bad Andrew Thomas looked as a rookie? And then was it middle of year 2, switch flipped?
Right.
And he's been high ends to elite since then. I thought Connerly, because remember, Connerly was a left tackle in college. He's the one who had that awful Shamar Stewart rep, I believe, at the Senior Bowl when they moved him to right tackle. Right. And not that the one rep stuff doesn't matter at the Senior Bowl, but you could almost see the transition to right tackle, I think, from Connerly. Like, he was just a step slow, just a little bit more, less sure, a little slow off the ball at times. So he had some ugly reps in the run game, maybe some anchor issues, and not adjusting to inside moves as quickly as you'd like as a pass blocker. But I think as the season progressed, he had a good game against Denver, mid-season, that Sunday night game. So as the season progressed, I thought Connerly got more comfortable, got better and better. I'm projecting, the offensive line improvement here. He was pretty young coming out. Mike Tice loved him. Mm-hmm. Back of my head, Mike Tice's OT1 may not have been pretty as a rookie, but second half of the year I thought it was better, and I thought I saw some stuff where Connerly can take a next step next year.
Yeah, I could buy that.
But yeah, some of his losses really blew up run plays. So if he gets better and he moves well, he gets to the second level, does some nice stuff in the run game. If he gets better there, more consistent, cuts down on some of those losses, your guy, Bill Krosky Merritt, will break out as well.
Yep.
All right, rounding out the NFC with the West, Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, another one where we both agreed, Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle, drafted high last year, got hurt, never really saw any kind of impact from him. I think there's no reason he shouldn't, though. Yeah,
look, I've said this about the Cardinals. It's easy to be low on them because they were picking number 3 and they really collapsed in the second half. They're not devoid of talent, including on the defensive line, to the point where I would say Walter Nolan, if he plays a full season the way he played last year in spurts, like there was some, like everybody, some bad plays out there as well. But remember, almost immediately makes his debut against the Cowboys, and almost immediately he's just in the backfield making plays, and he's tough to block, man. He's strong, he's quick, he can win anyway on the defensive line. I would argue he might be the most important player for the Cardinals as far as, like, if he hits.
Right.
If he gives you a good 700 snaps and you don't trade Josh Sweat and then you have Will Johnson, like, there's some youth on that defense that can turn it around. And we know offensively, I mean, they might not go anywhere with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, but that group of playmakers with Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, if Walter Nolan puts together a whole season of what he looked like last year, I think Arizona is a much better team.
Yeah.
Because he looked that good
right.
in just a limited amount of time, right? Started the season late because of injury, season ended early because of injury. But when he was out there, Walter Nolan looked as advertised as a mid-first round pick.
And it was a weird injury, the second one that he suffered, the one that shut him down, because I don't think they ever said what it was. But I think it's been confirmed by his girlfriend or something later on that it was a torn meniscus. So he had the meniscus tear, get surgery. That's the shutdown for the year deal. And then hopefully he'll be back 100%. So he's dealt with, coming into the season, he had a calf injury, which had him on the PUP list and meant that he didn't show up or didn't get on the field until halfway through the season. And then we got like 6 games where he looked good and then gets this meniscus injury that shuts him down for the year. So just crazy small sample size and multiple injuries in year one for Walter Nolan, for a guy that was a mid-first round draft pick. And as a prospect was sort of pretty polarizing. People had him as a top 10 talent. People had him as a second round talent. I mean, I think last year he showed already that he's a top 10 talent. Like, he's capable of being that disruptive monster on defense.
He's got we talked about Caleb Banks when he would just toss blockers. And Nolan has that type of power. Not the same size as Caleb Banks, but that type of power. But also the quicks. He's got those Chris Jones-like insta-wins where he's just in the backfield, both as a pass rusher or in the run game. I think Nolan can be special. And like I said, if he is, changes the prospects for Arizona. I think that it goes a long way to making that defense much better. Let's go Los Angeles Rams. Breakout players for the Rams.
The Los Angeles Rams. I went with Josiah Stewart.
I like that. I like that you picked it. I wanted to maybe pick it, but I mixed it up. I like that.
Undersized, dynamic, speedy, explosive pass rusher type who, again, now they've freed up some snaps there. Obviously, Myles Garrett comes in. Jared Verse goes out. I feel like they can work Josiah Stewart into the rotation more, get all those pass rushers on the field at the same time. I went kind of looking at his tape. You can still see the stuff from Michigan, like the explosiveness, the burst, the work into the ball. Like, I think he can take another step and be a disruptive player with that help around him.
I like it. Yeah, I'm a Josiah Stewart fan. I think he has a chance to be that high-end edge 3 for sure.
Yeah.
And then you get, all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time. They've got some versatility. I stayed on the defensive line with Braden Fisk as he heads into year 3. And you could say, well, he's already broken out. But I think there's another level to his game. Fisk he's been solid through 2 years. He's been very good rushing the passer. I think his quickness, I think he's a really good fit for their scheme too, with all the slanting and movement. And that's what's going to look different with Myles Garrett there, is all the slanting and the movement and some of the opportunities where it's not just, hey, go win one-on-one and try to run through a chip while you're doing it. I think Garrett's going to be set up for other opportunities in this defense, but Fisk is just a really good fit for what they're doing. He needs to improve in the run game. But a lot of times when a player, you look at some of the bad plays from a run game perspective, and a lot of it's just, hey, they're asking him to shoot gaps. He gets upfield too much, but he's got the tools, man. He doesn't have the best size in the world, but you could see him, jacking up blockers. Like, he's got the tools to be better in the run game. So I think there's another level to Braden Fisk's game. And then anytime you get a Myles Garrett there with the extra attention, Fisk, Kobe Turner. I'll tell you what I was reminded of watching Fisk a lot this weekend is how good Kobe Turner is. And he took his game to the next level last year in year 3. I think Fisk has some of that too. The Rams, I don't think it's cliche to say they've got one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, but I think Kobe Turner's still underrated. I think Fisk is still underrated. Garrett's Garrett. Byron Young had his breakout season last year in year 3. So I'm calling Fisk for the year 3 breakout. You had Josiah Stewart. I saw Daniel Jeremiah talking about, hey, the Rams might have this great defensive line, but their second string isn't the same as, say, Seattle. I don't know if that's the case. I think the Rams' second string, Josiah Stewart's good, Tyler Davis is good. I think they've got some players there. Seattle still might be deeper, but I really like the Rams, especially that starting 4. So I got Fisk taking another step forward this year.
I think the whole group can be disruptive and destructive combined. Like, all those guys can make plays together and over the course of a season and game.
All right, let's go San Francisco 49ers. Who's your breakout for San Francisco?
I'm going to go with running back Jordan James.
I like it. Another running back on the list here.
Yeah, and a guy, again, who basically didn't feature at all last season, was somebody who, again, a lot of people loved him at draft time. Did he go undrafted, or did he go, was it seventh
I think he was
round?
late, 5th or 6th.
Yeah. But he was a guy who kept showing up. Like, Shanahan kept bringing him up late in the season. And he
I liked his fit.
No, a lot of people did. And look, you've got this weird thing where, like, Shanahan keeps drafting these running backs that he covets that all stink and never do anything. Isaac Guerendo, right? Isaac Guerendo is just torn as something or other, working out, lifting weights. So all of a sudden there's, again, more opportunity open up for a guy like Jordan James to show up. It's the classic example, though, of, like, Shanahan likes a different back and the one that's actually going to win the gig. And by the gig, I mean, like, the backup, rotational job behind Christian McCaffrey.
McCaffrey,
right, is Jordan James. So Guerendo's hurt himself, seems pretty brittle generally. You've got Kalen Black, who Shanahan thinks is RB1 in this draft, and then actually the guy to look out for, the guy to watch, Jordan James.
This was a tough one for the Niners because they do have a lot of young players. I don't, they've had questionable drafts the last couple of years, and they still waiting for some of them. But I think Ricky Pearsall, he's my guy. I think when he's been out there, he's been pretty productive. You could see the big playability. You could see his speed.
5th round pick for Jordan James last year.
5th round. So I had it right. I said 5th or 6th, but it was 5th in my head. Pearsall's my breakout player, though, for the Niners. I think there's Mike Evans coming in, taking some of the attention. Juwan Jennings out. Brandon Ayuk doing whatever he's doing. There's just a lot of opportunity here for Ricky Pearsall. He's the breakout player for the Niners.
Yeah.
In year 3.
I thought last year was a pretty big year for him. If this year is as big, if just because it's almost do or die for him this year. Like, if he doesn't show it this year, it's probably not happening at all. And it's not like he's out of the NFL at that point, but like his sort of role as a centerpiece, a cornerstone of the offense, or future of that is probably diminishing. So it is a big season, I think, for him. Interesting. I mean, George Kittle is talking up the impact that Mike Evans can bring in terms of just a veteran leadership presence. And he's maybe the first serious, like, veteran receiver this building has had since Emmanuel Sanders way back when, right? I wonder, do we underrate from the outside how much of an impact that kind of thing can make on a team? Like this 49ers team that has been doing it. That's the sort of the flip side of this idea of you always want to build through the draft. Well, then you potentially miss out on this thing, whatever that's worth, right? This leadership, professionalism, lead by example style of player. You probably want to have at least one of those guys somewhere on the depth chart, and the 49ers have really been getting it done without that guy. Yeah,
I think Evans can help make an impact and free things up for Pearsall, who, by the way, just has the shooting incident before his rookie season in 2024. Doesn't make his debut until week 7. And even then, it was kind of a crowded wide receiver room. So you started to see flashes of what Pearsall could do toward the end of that season. And then last year, he plays 4 games, misses 5, plays 4, misses 1, plays 1, misses 2. Like, no rhythm whatsoever to Pearsall with all the injuries and everything he's dealt with through 2 years. So a healthy year 3 for Pearsall. He's my breakout for the Niners. All right, let's wrap up the NFC with the world champion Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, another one that I thought was tough. This one feels like about as far as I stretch the idea of breakout, but Rashid Shaheed.
How did you not take my guy, Torrey Horton? My selection was Torrey Horton.
Rashid Shaheed is blocking Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's role just turned into
coexist.
Like cheerleader on the sideline the moment they gave Shaheed the contract.
They can coexist.
As much as it feels like Rashid Shaheed has broken out long ago, he hasn't had anything. He's not even come close to 1,000 yards in a single season yet. So that's my definition of breakout. We're going to get 1,000-yard performer. We're going to get consistent playmaker all the way through, and just a very, very good player. He already is, but we're going to get a bigger role with JSN. He's no longer going to be putting up 1940s numbers in terms of market share.
They're going to have to spread the ball a little bit.
And it's going to go Shaheed's way.
Well, I went Torrey Horton because even early in the season, you saw his big playability. You saw his speed. Now he got hurt again. Was coming off injury at Colorado State. You and I both loved him coming out of the draft. So we'll go with priors and some of the flashes that we saw last year. High-end wide receiver 3 play from Torrey Horton this year. And if there's an injury at the top, I think he could step in as a 2 for Shaheed or JSN if needed. So I got Horton as the breakout player. Anyone else that was worth considering? Could you have said Gray Zabel as like a...
Nah, I think he's already too good.
Not another step forward?
Yeah.
I feel like you could take every offensive lineman that had a decent rookie season and say there's an upward trajectory there.
I mean, if those are the guys who we're doing that for, it's like there's not that many great breakout candidates, so we're stretching it. Realistically, you could take any good player and say, he's going to take the step from good to great this year. That's his breakout, but it's probably stretching the definition of great out already. I don't know anybody else that you would look at on that team and say they're a potential breakout candidate. I mean, unless you're expecting, like in this world of multiple tight ends, could Elijah Arroyo show up this year as opposed to last year? Maybe,
that's a good one.
But I didn't see, or that was another one where I was like, could I argue that the rookie would hit the ground running?
Jadarian Price.
Right. Yeah. Again, opportunity, if nothing else. He's probably going to be their lead back for like half the year, so he could be.
All right, we're halfway through. We're going to talk AFC here in a minute. But the biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every goal changes everything. And now FanDuel has given you a reason to root for every single one. Introducing Every Goal Pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. That's right. More goals means more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. So we're just rooting for goals here in the World Cup. Sam, what are you looking for World Cup season?
What am I looking for? Massively expanded World Cup, as you know.
Rooting for the U.S.?
Just a lot of games, Steve. Gianni Infantino was like, it's like 104 Super Bowls. That's what we're talking about here.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. Right on your soil.
I know. It's a exciting time. A lot of sports happening right now as the NBA and NHL finish up and the World Cup kicks off.
One of the kind of the darling teams is Norway, right? For a couple of reasons, a few reasons. They did a team photo like before they left where they all dressed up as like Vikings. Like they did like a proper Viking cosplay, everyone in old like 10th century outfits gearing up for the World Cup. It was pretty awesome. Like in a fjord with a boat behind them. Oof. Pretty cool.
That's good.
They've also got a bunch of actually really good players. I think Norway are sneaky. They crushed I think they were the most dominant World Cup qualifying team maybe ever, but certainly this year. So
we're going to need... We'll have to have Will, because we're going to make some picks in a minute here. Have to look up some Norway odds. But from the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. What a deal here. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to get started now. It must be 21 plus in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, 18 plus in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 100-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York, 877-770-7867 in Louisiana. And call 877. I said that. I did that. It got double posted. So, we got odds here to win. Spain is the favorite at plus 450. So you got to pick a winner. France at plus 470. Nobody likes the French. England at plus 650. Nobody likes England either.
England aren't winning because it's hot.
Yeah, it's
they're struggling in the heat in Florida. So they're not winning.
Brazil plus 850.
Yeah.
Portugal plus 850. And Argentina plus 950. Don't have Norway on there. Is that your long shot though that you would throw on there?
Mm-hmm. Norway would be they're my team to win it with the long shot odds.
What happened to Italy?
They didn't make it.
Jeez.
Yeah, they didn't qualify, which is actually pretty pathetic. I mean, we didn't qualify either, but we suck. Like Italy not to qualify, what
an embarrassment.
That's pretty bad. Of the teams you listed out, I mean, France are the best team there. They should win it. I watched Brazil's warm-up game, though, and this is not a vintage Brazil team at all, but actually I kind of like the way they played those guys. Their midfield, which looked terrible on paper, their press is actually pretty impressive. I'm kind of sneaky. Brazil might be better than people think they are.
Definitely better than I think they are. So
sure.
Brazil at plus 850, that's your move. I would go, since Italy's not there, I'm going with, so I'm 75% Italian and 25% Portuguese.
Really?
The rest of my grandmother, her mother from Portugal.
So you're like, how far can they drag the 40-something-year-old carcass of Cristiano Ronaldo?
Exactly. At plus 850, still a good deal. Let's make a run.
Oh,
let's make a run. I got Portugal.
One of my favorite stats that I've ever seen, actually. Kylian Mbappe, who you'll know, famous player, was phenomenal in the World Cup final 4 years ago for France. Was at PSG for years, right? He's been like the next guy, right? Messi, Ronaldo, blah, blah, blah. Then it was Mbappe. And PSG signed him from Monaco. And then he's the best striker in the world, was amazing, couldn't win anything at PSG, eventually decided to sort of engineer his way out of PSG to go to Real Madrid, where everybody goes to, right? The second he leaves PSG, they then win back-to-back Champions Leagues. Real Madrid don't win anything as long as he's been there, and it's been a disaster. Also, he's become like the most prima donna player on the planet, does not move unless the ball is given to him, does no defensive work whatsoever. To the degree that Opta put out a stat that was something like, of the top 20 leagues in the world, there are 6,044 players accounted for, and 6,043 do more defensive work than Mbappe does. The one guy that doesn't was some 40-year-old striker from Ecuador or something, right?
It's impressive.
But MLS is in that list, right? Which means peak of his powers, 20-something Mbappe does less work than 38-year-old Lionel Messi, who's earned the right to basically not do any defensive work.
Yeah, Messi just walks the whole time.
And yeah, correct. And 39-year-old Luis Suarez, whose knees are so wrecked that he can't move, right? Suarez looks like, I get sad watching him play because he genuinely looks like he's limping trying to run and still scores goals, right? But he literally can't move anymore.
We're going to get back to football before we...
Mbappe does less work than any of those guys. It's amazing.
Good stat. FanDuel.com/33rd. Check it out right now. More goals, baby. More goals. All right, we're off to the AFC. Starting in the South. That's right, we're starting in the South this
Craziness.
year. This week. Houston Texans, breakout player.
Well, obviously, you've got to select an Iowa State wide receiver. I've gone with Jalen Noel as the breakout one.
I've gone with Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
A couple Iowa State receivers.
Right. No matter who. You're picking an Iowa State receiver. The other one, by the way, maybe Tank Dell. Returning from his injury.
Coming back.
Breakout recovery.
Supposedly battling for his wide receiver 3 spot.
Yeah. Comeback player of the year.
There's a lot of potential there with the Texans. I have no idea what Tank Dell's going to be coming off. Back-to-back, pretty bad injuries. Heading into year 4 now.
It's looking good, though.
Missed all of last season. But he could be a game changer for them. And then Higgins just felt like C.J. Stroud was just off with him for much of the season. I feel like Davis Mills may have gotten Higgins the ball a little bit better. But I'm a Higgins fan. I think overall, challenging role for him on the outside. Playing some X. But I think he's gonna come good. Win at the catch point. Good size. Moves well. I think he was solid as a rookie.
Yeah.
And I think the production could have been better if he just got hit on a couple more throws. So I like Higgins. I'm a Noel fan too, man. I think his speed, I still use him more as a vertical threat. Let him get behind the defense. I think the Texans I like so much of the Texans team, Sam. If we're talking Higgins and Noel as breakouts next to Nico Collins, Tank Dell coming back, we know what their defense is capable of. Man, if you could just get good C.J. Stroud, this team is a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, there's a ton of talent in that receiving core. If both those guys take a step forward, if Tank Dell is comeback player of the year, they might be 4 deep in terms of dangerous receivers that you need to worry about.
What else we got here? Indianapolis Colts. Is that it for the Texans? Indianapolis Colts breakout players.
Tyler Warren was the closest I came. And this one, again, this feels like I'm stretching it about as far as it stretches in this exercise.
Last year I went to Latu. You may have as well. And I think
got that right.
Yeah, I think
he broke out.
I think he broke out. Maybe there's another step to his game if you really wanted to choose Latu, who we both liked coming out. I think he was okay as a rookie. Was much better last year. Had 3 interceptions. He was making some big plays in the pass game as well. But I think he was much better in year 2. I think there's another level to his game as well. I looked at Jalen Travis at right tackle, full year of him starting. But my breakout player is Josh Downs. And this is another level type of guy. Year 4 for Downs. You have Michael Pittman and a lot of targets out the door.
Yeah.
And Downs, who has been pretty much a slot-only type of player, I think he can win on the outside. He can create after the catch. He's an excellent route runner. I got Josh Downs, massive fantasy, PPR, heroic effort here from Josh Downs. Another level to Josh Downs' game this year.
It's really tough to find a good Colts one, actually. Like, all of the guys that are even in the conversation feel like a stretch to be called a breakout player, which doesn't necessarily mean anything about the quality of the roster overall. It just means that there's not that many guys you see as an obvious breakout candidate. The offensive line, I think, is already sort of fairly well set and established. Josh Downs has already shown he's a good player. Yeah, we're talking, could he, in a bigger role, can he be even better? Same thing with Tyler Warren, kind of. Like, he put up like 800 yards or whatever as a rookie. That's pretty impressive. Can he get to something crazy? Can he put up Trey McBride kind of numbers? Or, Latu. Latu was good last year. Can he become great this year? Like, it's just not a team where there's breakout candidates left, right, and center.
Everything evens out and ends up solid. Middle of the pack.
Maybe, ironically, choosing defensive ends that look immediately NFL ready actually take a little bit of time to get going, and this is the JTT breakout year. Last year was Latu's, this year's JTT's, even though both guys felt like they should have been good from the first day they played. Actually, it took them both a year.
JTT's okay. That's why I don't necessarily know that the next level is there for him or not. Let's go Jacksonville Jaguars. Who's your breakout?
It's got to be Travis Hunter.
I like it.
Whether it's receiver, whether it's corner, whether it's two-way superstar player, some kind of breakout is incoming for Travis Hunter just because he showed last season already that he's too good to not be good at something. I mean, I think the concern for Travis Hunter is it's the durability thing more than anything else. I think no matter what they do with him, he will be good at that. I think he's already shown that much, that he's a good wide receiver. I think he was about to break out wide receiver before he got hurt. And I think he's shown he's a good corner. If they focus primarily on one of those, I think he'll be good. If they let him do both, I think he'll be good if he holds up physically.
I like it. That's a fair one. Year two, coming off the injury, multiple positions to play at. And what does success look like for Travis Hunter this year? Paint a picture of what do you think this breakout looks like?
Well, I don't know, because a big part of it is what they're going to let him do, right?
I think he'll play mostly corner with the change of pace at receiver, which we've always thought is the right way to use a wide receiver corner.
Yeah. I don't know if they're backing off this idea that he can be the two-way player, though. Like, again, a lot of last year, a lot of the time he played last year was figuring out how to deploy. Because remember, like, going into that year, it felt like Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be the superstar number one wide receiver, the guy that would take the sort of Malik Neighbors role in Jacksonville and become a huge volume guy, just be the number one target. And then that didn't work out. And Travis Hunter was taking a little bit of time. They were deploying him in a slightly weird way. You then bring in Jacoby Myers via trade, and the whole sort of receiver room was in flux. And then right before he got hurt, it felt like they'd figured out how to deploy Travis Hunter a bit better. In the last 2 weeks that he played, he had 19 combined targets. In 2 of those last 3 games, he had at least 60 receiving yards. The last game was his touchdown, his lone touchdown. But like the last couple of weeks before he got hurt, it felt like we've just about figured out how to deploy him, and we're about to get this, breakout receiving performance from Travis Hunter, and then he gets hurt and shut down. The whole thing's done. So I think because so much of that was figuring out how this whole thing is going to work, I don't know that we got a clean sight on like what that will look like over a full season, except I think we saw in very small sample sizes that he's good. Yeah,
and the initial deployment of Hunter, I just didn't love.
Right.
Just as like a slot and, like run a couple little option routes and catch some screens. It didn't feel like the Travis Hunter skill set that you should be leaning into. Mm-hmm. They were using him more like a Josh Downs type, which I don't think that's his game. So I do think they found a way to deploy him better as a receiver. But yeah, I think that's fair. Travis Hunter, man. I'm going running back Chris Rodriguez, because the Jags come in, they let Travis Etienne, did I do that right? Etienne?
Etienne.
Let him walk. They drafted 2 players last year, Bashal Tutin, who had a pretty nice rookie season, LaQuint Allen in the 7th round. But they bring in Chris Rodriguez on the cheap. And there were rumors around draft time, the Jags are trading up, they want to get their running back. I wonder who they were, if they would just love Jadarian Price. I don't know who they were targeting necessarily, but they didn't bring anyone else in. I haven't checked, but it's got to be the cheapest, has to be the cheapest running back room in the NFL. This is for all the questions we had about the Jags and the consensus board and how they drafted and doing things their own way, this has to be the most analytically driven running back room in the NFL. A couple mid and late round picks and then a retread Chris Rodriguez for $5 million. But Chris Rodriguez is good. And I don't know why Washington didn't use him more. Since Kentucky, you can't tackle this guy. This is his breakout season with the Jags. The Bashal Tutin still your speed, change of pace guy. Give Chris Rodriguez 12 to 15 carries a game. Watch him shine. Still can't tackle this guy. He is the breakout player for the Jags in what has to be the cheapest running back room in the NFL.
Yeah, and unlike the Colts, the Jags have a lot of breakout options.
They do. Who else would you have considered there? Hunter. I've got Rodriguez. You picked Brent. I think we both hit last year. You picked Brenton Strange at tight end.
Okay.
We saw that. I picked Anton Harrison, the right tackle, in this, he was okay his first 2 years. Year 3, he had his best year last year at right tackle.
He did.
In year 3. I could even say there's another step to his game. Who else would you potentially pick here?
Cole Van Lanen, the left tackle. I think you could make a breakout case for him. And obviously the Barbarian will break out.
The Barbarian's always going to break out. Van Lanen, again, for football nerds like us who care about this, the fact that he was a pretty good prospect coming out of Wisconsin, had good production coming out of Wisconsin, was a late round pick, rotational guy for the Packers. The Jags saw him start a couple games. They're like, boom, that's our guy, $17 million.
Right.
Play left tackle. The Jags just have a fun
and they kind of did that
bunch of
previously with Walker Little. Back to back.
The old regime did it with Walker Little, and the new regime was
But back to back as a franchise, they basically took the guy that was on a very low sample size and just went, you're probably better than the starter, and dumped the starter. As you said, 2 different regimes, but consecutively at the same position, they basically, on a pretty small sample size with a relatively unheralded prospect, certainly relative to the guy they're replacing, they swappity-dooed.
These are fun case studies that the Jags are giving us. Van Lanen at left tackle. The Rodriguez thing, it reminds me of the Cowboys running back room last year where they paid Javonte Williams just nothing.
Yeah.
And he, similar type of player as Rodriguez, probably, better prospect, but similar type of player, tough to tackle, giving him some workload, and they re-signed him. Chris Rodriguez, my guy here. Rounding out the South, Tennessee Titans. Who's your breakout?
I'm going rookie. Carnell Tate, going to hit the ground running. I'm buying into the hype. Training camp hypes, not even training camp hype, mini camp, whatever we're doing now, OTAs. The hype's everywhere. Carnell Tate looks amazing. It's going to be amazing right away. They're going to feed him the ball. He's going to break out from day one.
I like it. 2 Ohio State breakouts for you. Rookies. Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
I could see that for Tate. I think, some people question that pick. We didn't. Both love Tate. I could see that. I think that's allowed on our show.
I think, again, sometimes I think we collectively, we definitely do this, but we dramatically overthink draft prospects sometimes. But I think there's some power to this idea. And maybe this is where it's like a simplified caveman version of the text analytics that people do, right? But if you just write out your notes, and it's like you got a pros column and a cons column, and the pros column is this long, and there's nothing in the cons column, it probably means he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I don't know if I've ever been that far in one direction with a guy as I was with Carnell Tate, where it's like I basically don't have anything in the negatives column, right? It's like deployment is a little, rudimentary. Like he could be doing more within the offense, but that's not necessarily a him thing. That's just how he's deployed in this offense. Jeremiah Smith was there. Again, that's not his fault. That's just, Jeremiah Smith's on the other side, so that's going to change some things in your favor. And he doesn't run a 4.3, and he's not 220 pounds. Again, it's not like that's a deal breaker. So, meanwhile, we've got all this list of stuff he does well.
Carnell Tate's your guy. I'm going to go Kevin Winston Jr. as my breakout. Year 2 player. Remember, he was injured for most of his final year at Penn State. Slow start to last year with the injury residual. I thought when he got out onto the field for Tennessee, ball of energy, brought something to the defense, was really good in the run game, was flying around making plays. I got Kevin Winston Jr. Really liked him coming out. I think he's a very good tackler. Had that, I think it's him and Brian Branch maybe, two of the best, just straight up tackle percentage numbers, missed tackle percentages coming out of college at safety over the last few years. So I'm been a Kevin Winston Jr. fan, and will continue to be. I thought he looked pretty good when he was out there last year, and only played not a lot of stuff, 300-something snaps. So he hasn't played a lot of football in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is his year. Kevin Winston breaking out.
Would you bank either of the young receivers from a year ago, Iamena or DK, to break out this year?
I'd go more DK because of the speed, and I thought he was behind the defense. Iamena had a lot of he had some big plays. He had some nice plays in there, but I think a lot of the inconsistency that he showed at Stanford was there, similar. I think DK, with a Tate type on the outside, I think DK has a chance to be that big play guy with his speed to get behind the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. By the way, someone asked if we could revisit these next year. At the end of the show, I want to go through last year. We'll just fly through last year's selections that were interesting.
Okay.
We've got the screenshot that where did we hit? Where did we miss? What did we come up with? Baltimore Ravens going AFC North here. Breakout. We both said Mike Green as the year 2 breakout.
Who I think is the obvious candidate for them. And again, so his production was pretty bad. His PFF grade was pretty terrible. But you go back and watch the tape, he still looks like Mike Green, like the college player. He still looks like somebody that can play at this level. He's more than powerful enough to get it done. The speed is there. The moves are there. It just didn't translate year 1. So it's not like they've written him off. They bring in a Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, Hendrickson is now the alpha pass rusher. You bring in a Zion Young in the draft. There's competition there. But I still think Mike Green can be a solid player at this level.
I think those additions are what help me feel good about his breakout. He was probably thrown in on early downs more than they would have liked. I think there's a really good combination of maybe Zion Young playing the run early downs and then Mike Green being more of a pass rush specialist, having all 3 of those guys out there, or even just Mike Green and Trey Hendrickson as your pass rushers on third down on the edge. I'm with you, man. I think he's got the burst and the bend and everything. He just felt small and a little overwhelmed when it came to the run game, but I think he can improve there and get back to being the prospect we expected him to be.
They also needed him to be basically the best pass rusher on the team as a rookie, from day one, which is always a pretty unreasonable ask for anybody.
And he's still making the jump from Marshall,
right,
which is a thing. And so, I think leaning on Priors again there with Mike Green here too for me.
Well, it's Priors, but it's also, I think sometimes when you go back and you watch the tape, it's not as bad as the production would say. Like you go back and you look at him, it's like he doesn't look terrible. Like it's not like this is a guy who's just getting crushed every single rep and doing nothing. Like he is winning, it's just not fast enough, right? Or he is causing problems for an offensive lineman, but the ball's gone and the quarterback's stepped out of the way. It's not like he was just getting stonewalled at the line every single play, and like this guy's just he's bringing nothing to the table. I do think he showed something in terms of NFL traits. It just didn't translate to production.
All right, let's go Cincinnati Bengals breakout player.
I'm going with Taj Brooks because he owes me $50. I was certain that the Bengals were going to bring in a running back in the draft, and since they didn't, that means Taj Brooks has to break out. Otherwise, I'm going to be doubly upset.
You're just going to continue this Chase Brown hate.
Yeah.
Taj Brooks, last year's a 7th-round pick out of Texas Tech.
I also saw somebody recently talking about the Bengals potentially trading. I forget who it was for, but trading for a running back. I'm like, if they didn't draft one and then trade for one, I'm going to be really annoyed.
I'll send your $50 back.
No, it doesn't. It's a loss, but it would be a really stupid way of losing.
I mean, I could definitely see a nice complimentary back. Brooks could be the complimentary back to Chase Brown.
I thought he would be more productive as a rookie. I think there's something there in Taj Brooks. I think he's a potentially solid player, but now I need him to break out.
So for the Bengals, I initially had Chris Jenkins at defensive tackle. I think maybe similar to Mike Green, just the addition of other good players, I think can help Jenkins at defensive tackle, who Still pretty sound against the run. When he's one-on-one, double teams are an issue. But I replaced him with my guy DJ Turner. And again, you can make the argument that last year was the breakout for DJ Turner. He's about to get paid, and I think his camp might be making arguments that he should be making top 5 cornerback money. Turner is awesome, man. I had some doubts year one when he came out with Cincinnati, like during the season. Remember, we were at training camp. Yeah. He was making play after play. We were there at joint practice his rookie year with the Packers, and he may have had 4 or 5 pass breakups when we were there. There's a couple big plays on him as well, but there were a lot of pass breakups. He's a pass breakup machine. He ran in the 4.2s coming out. Mm-hmm. Didn't always show up on tape. The pure speed didn't always show up on tape at Michigan. But I know my numbers have always loved Turner. Had my doubts early on, but something switched. Switch flipped maybe mid-2024, right before he got hurt. He had the game against the Chargers, 3 pass breakups, gets hurt. Last year, though, he carried some of the momentum out there. He's got a pass breakup against Justin Jefferson where he's just sitting there patiently, lets Jefferson run the slant and just breaks on it. His speed and acceleration show up at the catch point. There's plays where it looks like he might be out a step and he just breaks on it. He knows he's very aggressive getting after the ball at the catch point, but he's got the athleticism that's finally tuned to take those chances. I think Turner has a chance to become not just very good, but a star corner, paid as a top 5 type of corner. DJ Turner, superstar breakout year. And when we look back at the Bengals, who I'm going to be optimistic about, again, much like the Chargers, Dexter Lawrence coming in, but DJ Turner is going to be a big part of that optimism as well in the secondary.
This one might be the biggest stretch in terms of breakout in the entire
where do you think the public
show.
No, because the public isn't listing top 5 corners and they're like, yeah, DJ Turner, of course. You have Patrick Surtain, you get Sauce Gardner, you get Derek Stingley, and yeah, of course DJ Turner. I'm saying he's going to be top 5 to 8 corner this year and beyond.
I'm just saying he's already really good. So to be like DJ Turner is going to break out this year.
I did this with Rousseau last year. Is a good to great. It's a very good to great. DJ Turner. Bengals fans now. They're going to be they're high-fiving in the comments right now. Bengals fans. They're like, "Yep, we know. DJ Turner already good." They're either saying, "Steve, you're an idiot. He already broke out. Sam's right." Or they're saying, "You know what? You're right. He doesn't get the recognition he deserves. This Bengals defense has been awful. Nobody's listing DJ Turner. But when the Bengals have a top 10 defense next year, you're going to say, "Oh, it's because of DJ Turner and Dexter Lawrence." That's why. Cleveland Browns, who you got?
Cleveland Browns, I'm going with Isaiah Bond. In training camp, or mini camps, in the footage that's currently circulating on the internet, obviously much of it is focused on the performance of the quarterbacks and Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. But every now and again, I'm kind of reminded that Isaiah Bond is on this team, and he was the other Texas receiver, right? Like Matthew Golden was the one that went high on. Isaiah Bond was the guy that said he was going to break the record at the combine in the 40-yard dash and then run like a 4.4 or something. And a lot of kind of off-field questions with him. The fact that he actually is still on the team, the fact that he stuck around through the entire rookie season. Now, part of that is look who was on that roster and there's a terrible receiver room, so they needed receiver help. But the fact that he sort of hung around this long already is, I think, a good thing for his potential sort of long-term prospects of, maybe he could actually hang around in the NFL. And if he does, I actually felt like he was the better player on the field at Texas most of the time.
Texas did too.
Right, and Texas did too. It wasn't until Bond went that suddenly Matthew Golden's breakout came, and the performance that he had in a relatively short sample size there was incredibly high. But Bond was the guy that was getting the targets before Golden did. So I actually think there's a potential player there. And I know they just drafted Concepcion and Denzel Boston and stuff, but Bond is exactly the type of player I think that might end up forcing a bigger role within that team if he's able to keep there and keep his head on straight.
Most of our analysis is all right, Josh Downs. Oh, they got rid of Michael Pittman. Downs' time to shine here. You're going the other way. Hey, I know Jerry Jeudy's back. I know they just drafted 2 receivers in the first and second round in Concepcion and Denzel Boston, and you're like, doesn't matter. Isaiah Bond still breaking out this year. That's bold.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously they haven't open the pathway for him or anything. Like if he's going to do it, he's going to have to do it by merit. But I do think he's got the talent to do that. Like he's a way more talented player than where he was drafted. The reason he got drafted that low was not an on-field thing, and the fact that he's sort of already hung around this long, I think says maybe that's a good thing in terms of that might not be the big problem that people thought it would. In which case you're back leaning on talent, and again, that you're sort of reminded in these minicamp clips. He's got a lot of talent. Like he's got the speed to get behind a defense. It's like the weird thing is nobody thought Matthew Golden would run as fast as he did, and nobody thought Bond would run as slow as he did. Like Bond looked like the faster receiver on the field. I still think that's probably true. Like if you line them both up in on left wide receiver, right wide receiver, and just said run a go route, I think Bond would get there faster, even though Golden on a 40 was significantly faster. So. Yeah, I think Bond's a potential breakout.
I like it. I like the boldness there. I'm going to go Mason Graham for the Browns here as the year 2 breakout. So, again, it depends on your angle here. He played 765 snaps, played a lot of football. I think the efficiency numbers were okay. The perception around Graham was probably, he was all right as a rookie. Definitely got better in the second half of the season, so he continued to grow. So I think feather in his cap that he played a lot of snaps, but a lot of times when you play that many snaps, you lose the efficiency game. He also didn't finish a lot of plays. He's got to get better at that. I think he only had 1 sack total. But he was disruptive. He's got the quickness, hand usage. I think there's room to improve in the run game. Like a lot of defensive tackles comes down to anchor and feeling blocks and everything. I think he could do a better job of that. But I think a lot of those things got better as the year progressed for Mason Graham. And Myles Garrett leaving is not going to help anybody necessarily on that defensive line. We like Jared Verse. We had the full Myles Garrett, Jared Verse breakdown on our last show. Go check it out. But I think Mason Graham, all those efficiency numbers will tick up. The sack numbers will tick up. And he'll be an even more disruptive player here in year 2. Played a lot of football, was fine, was solid. I think there's another level to his game this year, though.
I can see it. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you can. Rounding out the North, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Another one I struggled with finding, guys. I went with Derek Harmon ultimately. Again, I think you could argue he's already pretty good, but I do think Harmon could be a real impact playmaker for that defensive line. I kind of expect the entire defensive line to be better this year than it was a year ago. A little bit like Miami's. I don't really see why it wasn't more impactful. Yeah. It looked like it could be special a year ago, and it wasn't. And even though individually all those guys were productive enough, they got pressure, they played well, but collectively it just didn't work. I feel like all of them will be better this year, and Derek Harmon could be in line for a jump.
I went with another year 5 breakout player. I got Jaquan Brisker.
How could you get Brisker was really good last year.
He was good. He got paid like $4 million. $5 million. What? I got to find the number now. I'm on the wrong page. He barely got paid. He's going to prove Brisker against the world here. He's going to prove them wrong. Like, why didn't the Bears bring him back on the cheap? Right? There's some doubt around Jaquan Brisker's game.
It was like concussions, wasn't it?
In 24, he missed a lot of time with the concussion, so that was an issue. Last year he played the whole season though, so he got signed. He signed for $5.5 million for 1 year. That's the league not believing in Brisker, who's my breakout player. You're going to be a believer in Jaquan Brisker. So he was healthy last year. He was healthy his first 2 years. There's another level to his game as well. Another level to Brisker's game. He's going to be an enforcer for the Steelers. He can tackle. He can hit. Play the run. Always a Jaquan Brisker fan. So let's let the NFL know. He's getting a big deal. So, but criteria for success. He's getting a multi-year deal from someone else at the end of the season.
A multi-year deal of indeterminate.
Like a good multi-year deal.
Okay.
He's getting paid as a safety at the end of this year. That's what I'm considering a breakout for Jaquan Brisker. Because, you could say he's already a good player, but why didn't the league think that? He's getting Getting a good contract coming out of this year. That's my Steelers breakout. All right, 2 more divisions. AFC East, starting with the Buffalo Bills.
Cornerback Maxwell Hairston, their first-round pick from a year ago, got injured, didn't see the field that much. I feel like, it's not like it was a redshirt year, but you effectively write off those kind of burned rookie seasons. This, I think, is the year we'll get to see like full offseason in the setup and actually be able to attack this year healthy.
All right, I want to touch on this at the end of the show. There's some Brendan Sorsby news that has come out. Talk about that at the end of the show. I struggled with Buffaloes. I could see Hairston. I saw that you put him, so I went with the fun one. Buffalo Joe.
Buffalo Joe.
Joe Andreessen is the breakout player. He might be an afterthought. Not for Bills fans. He's not an afterthought, but he might be an afterthought when it comes to the depth chart. I didn't know you had coffee. The Pete's. I grab some Pete's before it gets cold over there. Joe Andreessen. We got Matt Milano's getting older. There's snaps to be had at linebacker. Everybody thinks Elam Zor is going to take all the snaps, the 4th rounder out of TCU. Not with Buffalo Joe in town. Productive in the preseason, stuck around for a reason, played at the University of Buffalo. He's a hometown favorite. He's going to bring the fans in. Everybody's going to be wearing the number 44 this year. Tackling machine. Joe Andreessen's the breakout. Buffalo Joe.
I think Matt Milano is still a free agent, right? Didn't he? He didn't sign anywhere yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, that's what I'm saying, like new era.
Yeah.
It's just a new era in Buffalo at linebacker. New system, new era. Jim Leonard's going to love Joe Andreessen.
Jim Leonard.
There's also a chance he gets cut. I mean, I don't know, but we're going to...
He's probably not breaking out if he gets cut.
We're going to take a chance.
That's going to harm it.
I went the other way last year. I took their already good player in Rousseau.
Right.
Now I'm taking Andreessen, who's probably, see what happens in year 3. This will be fun. Rousseau, times 2. We'll go for that again. Miami Dolphins. I can't believe you didn't go with the guy I took.
I knew you would, so I left him for you. I'm going to go with Chop Robinson,
who was my selection last year.
I'm sufficiently. Year 1 has already shaken every faith I had in Kenneth Grant to the core, and I'm abandoning him immediately. Chop Robinson, I think, will have the breakout. Again, the entire defensive line underachieved last year. I feel like all of them will be better this year. The one I'm most confident in taking that step is Chop Robinson, who should be, at minimum, an impactful designated pass rusher on that defensive line.
I like it, man. The Dolphins were. I'm taking Kenneth Grant. We said the Dolphins were strange last year because we thought year 2 of Chop Robinson should have been pretty good. He was a very good pass rusher, was okay against the run, just didn't finish plays. That was my case for him last year at this time. So he took a big step back. Kenneth Grant, I thought, would be okay. Wouldn't be as bad as he looked at times last year, but I thought he got better as the year progressed as well. So I'll take that second half bump from Grant. New system, new everything. So I got Kenneth Grant as the breakout because he's big, he can move, he's a better football player than he showed last year. And if we're both right, the Dolphins, who have the worst or second worst odds as far as win totals and expectations this year, if we're both right and that defense, like if Grant and Robinson are better in years 2 and 3 respectively, man, that's... I'm not saying it completely changed. That doesn't add like 5 wins to the equation, but it makes them more competitive than we expected.
Yeah.
The D-line can be sneaky good, and both of those guys need to be breakouts as we're expecting here.
I mean, it should be. Again, it made no sense that defensive line was as bad as it was a year ago. Chop Robinson should be an impactful pass rusher. Zach Sealer was a really good player up until last year, and then it just stopped happening. And then Kenneth Grant was a first-round pick who had crazy talent, and that didn't happen either. It was bizarre.
New England Patriots breakout player. I like yours.
Is there any logic whatsoever to when Google just decides, you know what, you've had access to this stuff long enough, I'm going to sign you out? Good luck with that.
No. Oh, you
got
two-factor that, baby. Two-factor it.
Get a log back in, use my phone. I went with Jared Wilson.
Think of you, Mark, every time.
Who's being kicked into center from guard, which I think was his more natural position anyway. I think he will have a much better year 2 at center than he was.
I'm completely with you on Jared Wilson. That would be, I think, the most logical pick. Definitely had some issues at guard, better center, and I liked him as a player. So I like your Jared Wilson pick. I've I've gone Will Campbell here
Ooh.
as my breakout player because perception's low, stock is low.
It
Had
is.
a rough playoff.
Can't play with those stumpy arms.
Tough
Make him a
playoff.
guard.
Facing Odafe Owe in the Chargers, facing the Texans front and Will Anderson, facing the Broncos in their front, and then facing Seattle in their front. As much as this was a challenge for Drake May, it was a challenge for Will Campbell, and we know he had like the 12 pressures or whatever he allowed in the Super Bowl. I'm not chalking all that up to the knee injury because, look, Will's had some ugly reps on film, both his last year at like just his time at LSU and last year early in the season before the injury with the Patriots.
Yeah.
His losses, he's got some clean losses in there.
Right.
At offensive tackle.
I think my thing
I don't know that necessarily disappears, but I still think he's a good player on the ascent, will get better, core strength-wise, tech-wise, technique. He can get there. I think he'll be better, so I got him as the breakout in part because perception is low, and I've seen him play better ball.
The perception, I think, is unfairly low on him at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that, this guy can't play tackle at the NFL level. Like, even if he doesn't get any better at all from his rookie season, I think he's already shown he can play tackle at this level and be okay. Now, right now, that would sort of put him in the Dan Moore Jr. world of, like, you're okay, but when you run up against elite players, you're going to get your ass kicked, right? And that's fine to a degree. There's a lot of players that are in that bucket, and sometimes those guys are valuable and they can get a lot of money. But I think I'm coming around to the idea that there may be a sort of definitive ceiling on his game, which has been there really all the way along. And I think that's why his college tape is what it was, which is you're good, but every one of these top-tier NFL prospect defensive linemen have beaten you cleanly at some point, right? You can't say that about a lot of other top-tier offensive lineman prospects, right? The really, really good ones in college tend not to lose really at all. And he did lose. Not a lot, but enough for it to be a point of differentiation. I think now I'm starting to think that he can play tackle and can be solid and average and whatever, but maybe he can't be good there. Or if he's good there, he can't be very good there. There might just be a ceiling to his game, and maybe they'll be okay with that and say, look, there's value to this guy just being solid or average or whatever. Or maybe if there's another year and he doesn't get to being good and he's still just average, maybe that's when they kick him inside.
So 2 offensive linemen for each of us with the Patriots. Second-year offensive lineman.
Yep.
New York Jets rounding out the East, breakout player.
We both went with the same guy. And I think, did we both take him again last year for a different team?
Let's see.
Tavondre Sweat, nose tackle. Obviously.
You took Sweat last year.
Okay.
I took J.C. Latham last year.
So three of us in 2 years have taken Tavondre Sweat for 2 different teams. Nose tackle now freshly with the New York Jets, haven't been with the Tennessee Titans beforehand. I still think there's a really good player in Tavondre Sweat, and maybe last year you didn't see, maybe it wasn't the breakout season necessarily that I was expecting. I still think he's capable of really causing problems for people.
We questioned his ability to play a lot of snaps coming out of Texas. In year 1, played 700.
Yeah.
Last year, under 400, in and out. But I'm with you. So I took Sweat because I think he's a good player. I think, I don't know what else happens off the field. Remember, we thought he was going to drop in the draft because of off field. He ends up going high second. But Tennessee's given up on him.
Yeah.
After 2 seasons. That doesn't always bode well. But when he's been out there, he's been very good. Moves well for his 360-pound frame or whatever it is.
Right, and giving up on him for seemingly no reason. Like, it's not like...
I mean, I think part of it's the scheme thing. I don't think Saleh...
Yeah.
I don't think that system, thrives with a big-bodied nose tackle. I think they want 4
But I think
penetrators.
he's also shown that he can rush the passer and be disruptive. Like, again, he's always been slightly miscast, I think, even if you go back to Texas, like, he wasn't the guy playing over the nose. It was Byron Murphy, right? Like, he's never been that over, like, he's never been the Dexter Lawrence, right? The guy that lines up directly over the center every single snap, plays nose tackle, 2 gaps, stuffs the run. Like, that's not necessarily been his game. I know he's 360 pounds.
And he only played 12 to 20% nose tackle over the last 2 years.
Right.
So they haven't necessarily used him a ton in that role.
And he's
so
definitely a good run defender, but I think he can disrupt and rush the passer as well.
No, I like Sweat. He's got he's got solid pass rush production, or
Yeah.
at least last year. So
Like, it's still not the best stylistic fit with Robert Saleh, but I'm not like, I don't look at him and be like, he's Ted Washington. He just doesn't fit in this defense, right? Like, he's not that.
it's an interesting defensive front because I think bringing Sweat in and having 2 more years of him under contract, David Bailey in the first, a guy like Joseph Asai in free agency, they've gotten better up front, I would say, the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the West to wrap it all up, starting with the Denver Broncos, their breakout player.
This one was
We both
tough.
struggled with this one.
Yeah, this one was tough to find. I went with R.J. Harvey, I think, was the closest I could come to a breakout candidate. Looked okay year one. There's still plenty of opportunity there for him to be the lead back in that backfield if he takes a bit of a step forward. So I still think he's talented. He's explosive. He's got the ability to make big plays. Year 2 breakout.
We could have just gone with our receivers from last year. You took Troy Franklin.
Yep.
A little bit of truth in that. He got better.
Yeah.
Marvin Mims was my choice.
Right.
A little bit of truth in that, but not really as far as the volume goes.
But they've kind of shut off again.
But then Jalen Waddle
Yeah,
comes in.
because of the trade for Waddle. You would assume he'll be the high-volume guy. Cortland Sutton's still there. The pathway for either one of those guys to have a bigger role than a year ago is not great.
So I went with Pryor's year 2 breakout for Jahdae Barron.
He was another one. So if there was a pathway for him to play, I would say he's the guy. Because he didn't play well last year, and I thought he would be one of the cleanest hit-the-ground-running type of players no matter where they played him in that secondary, and he really wasn't. So if there was somewhere to play, I would say Barron is almost certainly to be better this year than he was a year ago. But there's no path to the field for him unless somebody gets hurt.
He's going to find a way.
He's going
to find a way.
Life will find a way.
Yeah, he'll find a way, whether it's stealing nickel snaps, outside snaps.
You want to get rid of Riley
Safeties.
Moss every time you sets
time.
foot on the field.
Get Barron out there.
You're going to have Barron out there.
Barron is too good of a football player. Somehow he's breaking out this year. We got to go back and look at our hit rates on these. They're not perfect, but
Life will find a way.
Kansas City Chiefs breakout player. I liked your choice.
Noel Williams, I think. Obviously, they cleared out both the starting corners.
He'd better, or they're in
Right.
trouble.
So they kind of need him to. I think you could argue that he's broken out already, maybe, but I think he didn't really have the playing time, I think, to establish that for sure. Like, he had fewer than 500 snaps. He was good in those 500 snaps. And again, because they've traded away both the starters from last year, I think they agree, and they're perfectly happy to plug him in there as one of the starters and rock and roll this year. But I think it still makes him qualify as a breakout candidate if he plays 1,000 snaps and plays the same way.
I make this statement a bunch throughout the offseason, but where I just highlight one player as like the most important or one of the most important. You could argue that Noel Williams is one of the more important players in the AFC, in the AFC playoff picture. We've seen the Chiefs defense have some fragility to it when it comes to if they're not good across the board cornerback-wise, right? You have one injury, somebody gets picked on, they get attacked. Noel Williams, Mansour Delane, there's a lot of pressure on those guys to be the 1-2 punch to replace Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie here. So Noel Williams, I think that's a good selection. And then I went wide receiver Jalen Royals because Rashee Rice is in jail with a knee injury. He'll be back, but
but he's allowed now to get rehab in jail.
Oh, that's good.
They've special dispensation.
He's dealing with his issues, but he'll be back. Xavier Worthy in year 3. Tyquan Thornton did a really nice job, but they're just rolling it back with this receiving core minus Marquise Brown. And we thought Jalen Royals, as a pretty slick route runner who could get open, I think there's some opportunity here to steal some snaps. And I don't know if the Chiefs would be in the Stephon Diggs market or if there's some sort of like Tyreek Hill reunion down the pipe here. I don't know. But there's opportunity here for Jalen Royals. We liked him coming out, so I'll bank on that, and there'll be some opportunity here for the Chiefs. Las Vegas Raiders. Breakout player.
I went with Jack Bech.
I could buy that.
Again, a bit like Matthew Golden, where you're like, why was Jack Bech not better last year? Because again, another guy that you thought, okay, there's plenty of opportunity, obviously, because the Raiders' receiving room was pretty bad. Even more so when Brock Bowers got hurt, and suddenly the opportunities open up even further. And he really didn't do an awful lot as a rookie. And I liked him as someone that was a good prospect and could potentially hit the ground running, and it just didn't happen. But you go back and watch the tape, and it's like there's no reason for this. He shouldn't have been as unproductive as he was last year. There should have been more. There should have been more to this. Why was there not? I think it was a lot like Golden in that regard. And again, because there's no logical reason that it didn't happen, I'm just assuming it won't again. He's still a good player. He can still make plays. Yeah. He does the dirty work. It's not like he's getting
I like Bash.
Marginalized or benched. He's not out here blocking, so we're not throwing him the football. Like, he was doing all the stuff that should have yielded targets and a role within the offense, and the ball just didn't come his way. So I'm going to bank on that bouncing back this year.
So I've gone with the guy that we both chose last year, Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ. The O-line coach issues, the moving him around, it's all over. It's JPJ's time to shine.
Multiple staffs being out on JPJ is a them problem.
Full-time guard. We've whether he's playing center, whether he's playing guard, we've both liked him. It's year 3. Whatever the issues have been, all in the past now. JPJ's time to shine. So last year's two-time breakout player for me. 3 out of the 4 breakout player selections between us over the last 2 years. This is the year for JPJ to become top 10 guard, we'll say.
Ooh.
How's that? Let's wrap it up. Los Angeles Chargers, your breakout player.
My breakout player for the Chargers, Omarion Hampton. People seem to be down on Omarion Hampton a bit. I thought he looked really good when he was on the field. Now, the production was not necessarily spectacular, 4.4 yards per carry, but remember, in case you needed reminding, the Chargers had one of the worst offensive lines that's ever stepped foot on the field, with a record number of
both pass and run blocking
offensive line combinations, with a wretched starting 5 by the end of the season. I mean,
they were bottom 5, pass blocking and run blocking.
It was
last
terrible.
Year, right?
Like, again, this thing. Generally speaking, offensive lines, when they suck at everything. Like, this is not like a top tier run blocking unit that just happened to not be able to pass block to save their lives. This was an abysmal offensive line. So that's going to affect Omarion Hampton as much as it's going to affect Justin Herbert.
No, I like it. I'm going with another year 2 skill position player. I'm going Trey Harris, the wide receiver. We saw Quentin Johnston break out a little bit last year. We've got Ladd McConkey, who you could argue is going to break out to kind of like get back to where he was as a rookie. Harris was not targeted often, but I thought there were some flashes in there, and he's still dealing with that whole transition from Ole Miss and only lining up on the one side and running death by a million hitch routes and the whole thing that Ole Miss deals with. So another year in an NFL system. I think he's got some size and speed and ball skills. So I like Trey Harris. I got him as the breakout. I think Ladd is going to have a really good season, but I think we could be looking at, if Harris takes the step, Quentin Johnston as a 2/3. I mean, it could be a pretty good receiving group here for your MVP candidate, Justin Herbert.
Could be, yeah. I thought about doing that, but I'm not quite sure how this receiving unit is going to shake out. I don't think McDaniel actually tends to lean that. He doesn't have a particularly deep receiving group in terms of where the production comes from. It tends to get funneled through 1 or 2 guys, and I wasn't confident enough that Trey Harris would be one of those 2 guys.
Who's going to be his River Craycraft? Right? You have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, and River Craycraft is making all the big plays.
Remember the story, or when they signed him, it was like Mike McDaniel just had to have Alec Ingold. It's like, dude, you get yourself set up as the fullback that like an offensive genius just has to have in the NFL. Yeah. You're set for life, right? There was apparently a story that Mike McDaniel was leaving wanted posters, like he photoshopped up wanted posters that had Alec Ingold, and who was the running back they signed? And he was leaving those in the office of the GM until they signed him. Like, that guy's a maniac.
I think being a GM's easy. You got to deal with Mike McDaniel's wanted posters.
Was that so? He's banging the table for Alec Ingold. Who's
I'm looking it up.
And then the speedy receiver that they drafted as well.
We all wanted
Brennan Thompson.
Yeah, we all wanted Brennan.
Keaton Mitchell. So he was wanted posters for Alec Ingold, Keaton Mitchell, and Brennan Thompson, right?
At least they're decent players.
Sure, but it's fascinating. And, of course, Cole Strange.
I forgot Brendan Thompson's got to steal
Cole Strange.
All the vertical threat for the Chargers.
Right.
Man, Chargers hype, baby. Let's look at some of last year's. These were fun. I took Chop Robinson. He got worse. You took Patrick Paul for the Dolphins. You nailed it.
Yeah.
I forget why you put an asterisk next to it, but you had Jalen Polk for the Patriots. That did not work.
No, that didn't work at all.
I had Demario Douglas. I took Chris Jenkins last year for the Bengals. No, you took Chris Jenkins last year for the Bengals.
That didn't work.
I took Jermaine Burton out of obligation.
Yeah.
Wrong. You took Jalen Noel last year, so he's a two-time breakout candidate. You took him as a rookie last year.
Rookie breakout.
I took Kamari Lassiter for you Texans fans who were wondering why we didn't have Lassiter in the best under 25. I nailed that. Kamari Lassiter, breakout player. Look at this interesting one. You were on the Indianapolis Colts hype train last year, if you remember. You were picking them to win the division and do all these great things.
8 games, it looks so good.
And then you tripled down and said Daniel Jones was your breakout player, and you mostly nailed it when he was on the field.
It's one of those. It's a classic. Stop the count. You know, if you just stop. If the season ended midway through, I looked fantastic.
You look
Colts
great.
were cooking. Daniel Jones looked great. All pro. It's great, right?
What a fit.
Unfortunately, the second half
trading
of the
future
season.
ones for Sauce. Daniel Jones is the future. What a great match with Shane Steichen.
Sadly, they did not stop the count. The second half of the season happened, and it all fell apart.
But nailed it, mostly. Let's see. Both took Cooper Beebe last year. I'm saying he didn't fully break out. We got another step.
Okay.
Jalix Hunt both took for the Eagles. I don't know if that really came good. He was fine.
Not really.
Johnny Newton was a miss for me for the Commanders. We both took Terry and Arnold last year.
So I'm out. Burn me twice, I'm out.
Doubled up on Terry and Arnold. You took Roma Dunze. I took Austin Booker. I think Booker took a step, not fully there yet.
Oh, you nailed Jalen Redmond.
Jalen Redmond I was really excited about last year.
Yeah.
And definitely we got that one. Got that one there.
Both took Cansey. That didn't really work out.
Kalijah Cansey for the Bucks. He got hurt. That was the only issue. I took Braden Fisk last year. I didn't know that. Back-to-back Fisk selections for me.
I got Kitchens. I nailed that one.
Cameron Kitchens is a good one for you. Rams safety. And you took Torrey Horton last year.
Yeah.
As a rookie.
As a rookie.
Because you were like, hey, you've been doing this rookie thing the last years. I took Byron Murphy. And I think he took that next step last year. So I felt good about that. Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think I got that one for the Saints. He improved. So those were fun. The news I wanted to hit on here. Brendan Sorsby. So Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby.
Which, last I heard, had his appeal to play denied and was therefore headed to the supplemental draft. Has there been further news?
There's further news. He gets an injunction against the NCAA. And he is suspended for 2 games.
What?
And will return to Texas Tech next year. Now, I don't know if there's another layer to this, if there's another appeal that can go through from the NCAA, but as of right now, Brendan Sorsby is back at Texas Tech. He'll be suspended for the first 2 games, of which I think Texas Tech is heavily favored. But he is now eligible for the 2026 season after a judge grants injunction. His case felt so ironclad because
the injunction has to be just against permanent suspension, right? Like the 2-game suspension is their response to that. Like surely the court can't be imposing a 2-game suspension on him.
No, I don't know where the 2-game suspension's coming from. If like the NCAA is just like, well, if you're forced to play, you're getting suspended for 2 games. But I'm pretty sure that's a piece of it. It's a preliminary injunction clearing the way for him to play this season. So for those who don't know, Sorsby, while at Texas Tech, so he's put himself in like gambling rehab. He placed thousands of sports betting bets over the last couple of years, but most importantly, bet on his own team when he was at Indiana.
To win.
Bet on his own team.
To win.
As our friends have said, it doesn't matter
feel
if it's to win or
to
doesn't matter if it's to win or to lose.
Oh, I think it matters.
But part of the case that Texas Tech set forward was his return to Texas Tech. He would benefit from elite coaching, training resources, camaraderie, and regimen that only being a member of a Division I college football team can provide. This is part of his. This is the case
That's
that he's.
The defense.
This is the defense, and the reason why he's got to get back to Texas Tech. So that like this is part of his rehab. He can number 2 build the skills necessary to maximize his own success during the college football season, as well as that of Texas Tech's football team and each of its players. and then make an informed decision regarding whether to enter the supplemental draft.
Huh. So ESPN's Pete Thamel, is that his name?
Yes. College football reporter.
Noted that the judge stated Sorsby would, quote, suffer a probable, imminent, and irreparable injury if he weren't allowed to play. It strikes me that he would make out better if he's not allowed to play. He's going to head to the supplemental draft, maybe go in the first round. That's way better than staying at Texas Tech.
So we were I was gonna wait because I was fully assuming Sorsby was going to show up in the supplemental draft. Completely assuming that was going to be the case and that we would have a whole segment on this and break down his game and give you some options on who might draft him. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like that still might happen. I have no idea how the court system works, if this is now locked in or if we're going to have 17 other appeals and it's going to change all the time.
The NCAA has released a statement on the ruling.
I'm sure they're upset.
Quote, the NCAA strongly disagrees with the court's ruling in the Sorsby case and is deeply concerned about the damaging, far-reaching, and broadly destabilizing ramifications of this outcome, which undermines and corrupts the integrity of sports. The NCAA is committed to supporting the student-athlete mental health, but must continue to aggressively defend against actions that defraud college athletics and threaten competitive integrity, such as betting on one's own sport. I rarely would say this. I'm with the NCAA on this.
I know.
I can't, in basically every capacity. I mean, obviously, this has always been a line in the sand no-no. You can't really bet on a lot of things, and you certainly can't bet on your own team, even if you're betting on them. And I have some sympathy with the idea that that's different to betting against them. So I'm kind of, number one, there's that part. And then number two, I don't even agree with the technicality that it's like he makes out badly from this. If he's banned from this season, I think it's fine. Like he's not getting damaged by being forced into the supplemental draft.
I mean, he's not going first round in the supplemental draft. That's the thing. He's probably going third round or something, and there's a chance that he becomes a first rounder at the end of the season. This is just where we are with QB development, right? It's like he didn't play like a first rounder. It'd be pure projection. They're all projection, but most first rounders, you want to see one more year of that step forward. So what he was potentially missing out on was being on one of the best teams in the nation in Texas Tech, the favorite in the Big 12, a chance to go to the college football playoff, play some big games. So the argument that I don't think it's like, just go to supplemental draft. I mean,
it's all projection.
I'm not saying this means he should get the injunction. I'm just telling you, it's better for him to go back and play.
Maybe.
Sure.
It might not be, though.
I think it is.
It's total projection either way. Like, maybe going back, he has a better season. He ends up going in the first round. That's the case for everybody from a year ago that we thought was going to go in the first round as well. None of them materialized. You don't think he'll go in the first round of the supplemental draft. He probably won't, but people are saying he could. People are saying he's a second-round supplemental guy. He will be the highest supplemental draft pick in decades if he goes. It's all projection. Maybe he'll be a first-round supplemental pick. Maybe he'll be a third or a fourth-round supplemental pick. Nobody knows. But it's certainly a pretty good chance that he gets drafted by a team that still has a quarterback need and gets put in a, therefore, pretty advantageous position. And if it's a second-round pick, say, that they've spent on him in the supplemental draft, they're motivated to actually use him as the future. Like Arizona, Cleveland, just off the top of my head, are teams with first-round picks next year that if they spent a second-round pick on a quarterback in the supplemental draft, that guy could start for them this year and free up a Jeremiah Smith draft pick for next year, right? Like, those teams would be motivated for him to be good. I don't think it's clear at all that forcing him back to college, or not forcing him out of college, rather, is at all damaging to his future.
The teams that have multiple picks next year, the Jets have 3 1s, the Browns have 2 1s. Could kind of see that for either team to take a shot, but not maybe in the second or third, not in the first. I know Arizona, they're projected to have a high 1. There's just so many possibilities for next year's first round. Again, I know they're all projections. I know a lot of them might not come good. But I think if you're talking about 12 potential first rounders, of which Sorsby's one of them, because you're just looking at players who are somewhat productive, good arm, athletic.
I want to be careful here because this is a tricky area, but this judge is from Lubbock.
So the initial There was a judge that recused himself early in this process who was like a Texas Tech grad. He's like, I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
So
Lubbock, for anyone that doesn't know, is
home of Texas Tech.
Yeah, it is. That feels a little bit.
Our friend Kevin Clark, who hasn't had me on his show yet, but probably should. As disastrous a ruling as there has ever been in modern sports. The pathway is now clear. Gamble as much as you like, including on your own team. Hope you are, or get, good enough that you can lawyer up down the line. A much bigger disaster than anything with NAL or the portal. So, I did think, when you said you stand with the NCAA, I did think this is the one place where the line would be drawn. Just don't gamble on your own team. Can't do that. We can't let this happen. We can't set the precedent. We're well beyond the Reggie Bush stuff and the extra benefits and the tattoos at Ohio State and all these things where people got infractions against them through the years. Like, we're well past all that stuff. Players can get paid. Players can have all these other benefits, but you can't gamble on your own team. Honestly, really quick though, the NFL still might not stand for this. So I don't know how they're going to handle this because the NFL is way more cautious about this than a judge in Lubbock. The NFL doesn't want to have anything to do with this whatsoever.
The judge in Lubbock.
Right? And so the NFL is going to have to make sure that this is absolutely behind him because they don't want any of that. I'm not saying they're suspending him or not letting him in the league or anything, but this means more to Raj than it does the Lubbock judge.
Yeah, I mean the only possible thing worse than this from this kind of landscape point of view would be if he was literally match fixing, right? Like gambling, taking either betting against his own team and then throwing it. Like that's the only line worse than this in terms of this whole gambling landscape and world. Like this is almost effectively saying what he did is fine, right? 2-game suspension for a whole, basically being a gambling addict and betting on games you're involved in is insane to allow that to fly, which is effectively what's happening. A 2-game suspension is
I don't know where the suspension note has come from. I saw that in one place. And I don't know how.
It's apparently part of the, I don't know if they negotiated that as part of the injunction, like, hey, we've got to do something to him.
And then there's obviously going to be an appeal. Sorsby has Jeffrey Kessler, the famous attorney. He's going to help educate athletes on the dangers of gambling addiction.
Well, then it's all cool.
By the way, I'm also like all for second chances and the rehab process here, but the consequences are difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
to not put in place here for him.
If he has, a true, honest to God addiction to gambling, that's fine. Get himself in rehab, work through the steps of recovering and all that kind of stuff. But you can't just wipe the slate clean and be like, none of that matters because he's in rehab.
There's also consequences.
Because if that was your standard, it was an addiction. He's in rehab now. Well, okay, but then that's therefore the get out of jail free card to anybody who wants to do this and isn't a gambling addict. Oh, it's okay. I'm in rehab now. Don't worry about it. What? That can't be the way out. That's ridiculous.
Cincinnati people upset. Pete Rose, banned for life. The difference with Pete, though, is he was like the manager at the time and player manager at the time when he did it. You know Pete Rose?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was news. There still could be appeals. He could still be in the supplemental draft, which would be an interesting discussion, by the way. So he's an athletic quarterback. He can zip it. He can throw on the move. I think his consistency and accuracy is not there yet. But he is the classic prospect who showed some stuff at Indiana, transfers to Cincinnati, improved. Like, there could be another step to his game. And that's what we're looking for in a lot of this draft class, whether it's him or Lenora Sellers or Arch or CJ Carr, all these quarterbacks that we're talking about as potential first rounders next year. Drew Mestabaker. There's still there's more that we need to see, but we've seen players do this before. And if Sorsby does get to go play at Texas Tech and improves, we're probably going to see him in a bunch of big games, probably making the playoff with that Texas Tech roster. And then you get to see him in big playoff games and there's a chance he is a first rounder, or at least first round caliber a year from now. If you don't get to see that, then it's a pure projection. What would that senior year be like? Do you take him in the third in the supplemental draft, second, first, whatever? I do see some quotes out there that people have higher. There are some area scouts that have higher grades on him than Arch Manning.
Saw that, yeah.
And I've seen Burt Breer has been, whoever he talks to, he's talking to some big brand Sorsby fans, Mahomes and off-platform. Like those names are coming up. My quick reminder on that is there are hundreds of area scouts. Like there's a lot of evaluations out there. Even like when Caleb Williams came out, I bet if you polled area scouts, 70% may have had Caleb Williams number one.
Also, what area does he scout? He doesn't scout Sorsby's area.
Just throwing it out there. 70% may have had Caleb Williams. 60% may have had Caleb. And then 20% had Drake May, and 20% had what's his name? Jaden Daniels. You can find people, right? Just like you can find anybody on the internet. Like I had Mahomes number one, my QB rankings in 2017. Bow to me. So I don't know how much it means is my point. Like a quote from a solitary area scout, I don't know if that means anything. Because I'm sure there's somebody that has him higher graded than Arch Manning. Arch was okay. He was pretty good last year. I can understand why people don't like Arch Manning or don't fully believe in him as the number one overall pick. So the Sorsby hype also feels like he's got the right people working for him right now.
Apparently.
Mentioning Mahomes, mentioning off-platform, area scout that's got him graded higher. Agents are working overtime there, I'd say. So I don't know. I don't know that Sorsby's a clear first-round prospect, but he's got a chance to play himself into the first round if he gets to go play this year, which as of right now he does.
Yeah. I still can't get past the fact that the judge is from Lubbock. It's amazing. Like in this whole world of like, do you want to at least, like the guy that recused himself, you're like, nah, I'm from, Texas. That would look bad, right? Meanwhile, this guy's out here from Lubbock. So we're like, I don't see a problem with this. I see no perception issues at all.
Cody Campbell is the Texas Tech billionaire who's very much in all of the legislation discussions and pooling media rights and what the future of college football looks like. And Texas Tech it's a win for them right now for this year.
You said that the NFL collectively, Raj, might care more about this than the NCAA does. Do you think that would affect his draft stock if, let's say, he plays out this year, whatever happens to his legal case, enhances his prospect profile on the field, has a good season, maybe they win a championship, maybe they just, whatever, playoff team. But he's still got this hanging over him, right? Like it's still a part of his prospect makeup. Now he's suddenly about to become a professional, and you're risking your franchise if this is your quarterback, right?
So I don't know if there's anything the league can or will do.
No, just in terms of like this is the type of thing that could ding you in the draft if you've
for sure
got this in your history.
This is what I'm saying. Like so,
do you want to turn the keys of the franchise over to a kid that apparently had a gambling issue and is still only a phone call away? And
there's two parts to this, right? Like there's him coming back to play football, probably not best for college football. There's also like, I hope he gets past this and doesn't, isn't addicted any longer. And perhaps it's a great recovery story and what they're pushing, that he's going to be an advocate and help and whatever going forward. Maybe it's all great. But yeah, NFL teams are going to have to do their due diligence, because if he got caught again at the NFL level, that could be Pete Rose lifetime suspension type of stuff. And it sounds crazy because people are like, we don't like domestic violence stuff. We don't like all these other things that are, in a person's past. But unfortunately, we've seen you can be in a domestic violence incident and then it's like, they drop charges, we're good.
But it's all risk management, right?
But what I'm saying is things that are worse are sometimes swept under the rug and a player doesn't miss time. And if you're a team, you're just wondering, is this going to affect this guy's ability to play football? If there's anything gambling related and he's in the NFL, they just go, boom, it's over. And it's not like a 3-game suspension. It's like, like the NCAA is doing, 2-game suspension. It could be over. And so I think NFL teams have to really make sure that it's in his past. And then the NFL itself is going to be keeping a close eye because there's a history there. And I don't think Raj in the NFL wants to deal with that at all.
I mean, they're already, this is So, like, Jameson Williams thing, right? Jameson Williams had a suspension for gambling. Who was the Colts receiver that had something as well, right? But those are guys that have, like, they got popped for gambling on something different just within the facility, right? Like, they were, like, betting on basketball games or whatever, but within the facility, and the tracking software is sophisticated enough to ping that, right? And they got handed suspensions. Like, this is, in this whole world of gradations, like, the worst thing you could possibly do is be betting against yourself and throw a game, right? That's effectively, like, that's the nightmare nuclear option that everybody is terrified of, like, legitimately throwing games, match fixing, that kind of thing. The next worst thing you can be doing is betting on a game you're actually involved in, even if you're betting on it to win, because, it's pretty close to the first thing. The next thing you can do is just betting on, random other NFL things, blah, blah. And then down the line, there's actually, we don't even want you betting on anything within an NFL facility, right? And that's what these guys were done for. So they were done for, like, basically the lowest possible rung on the ladder. Sorsby's like one step away from the top of the ladder. And, that's a pretty, I don't know what they would do. Like, if the NFL uncovered what the NCAA has uncovered, what kind of suspension do you think he would be handed?
In the NFL?
It would be like multiple years, if not permanent.
I think betting in and around your own team is going to be a permanent.
Yeah.
That'd be a permanent
Like,
suspension.
I would say minimum,
jump right to the Pete Rose.
Minimum, it's the sort of the indefinite suspension that they hand down every now and again, and potentially they would ban him for life, and yet apparently
that's all I'm saying.
He's getting 2 games.
We often take the team standpoint because that's what most fans care about. They care about, what's my team going to do? How does this affect my team? That's just what we're speaking to. From a team perspective, this would be one of the riskiest things, because if it came up again, you lose him forever. Whereas other off-field concerns, right or wrong, Rashid Rice or whoever, it's like, well, we might lose this guy for 6 games, might lose this guy for 4 games, might have to, and that's just the reality of it. So that'll be interesting when that comes up as well. All right, Monday morning, news breaking over here. Not a news dump. They're doing it front and center, beginning of the week. That's it for us today. Fun show. Enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, do all the things, hit the likes, and do all the stuff on YouTube. We'll be back Thursday. What are we doing? 32 players again?
Yeah.
Thursday? The most essential non-QBs probably coming up Thursday, so keep an eye out for it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Thursday. More Check the Mic.